And I've started the stream, so now we should be on. And the delay
Okay.
catches up. There we go. Oh, wonderful.
Oh,
Now is that
wonderful.
time where I need to make sure that there isn't a terrible echo.
Oh no.
That means that someone has to listen and someone else has to talk, right?
Well, I can handle the talking part. I'm pretty good at that.
That's the best part.
Yeah. What if I just blathered a whole bunch, like, into the air, and then someone had to gauge, like, whether everything was all right?
And look at that. The bat says that there isn't an echo. So cheers to that.
And through my magical powers of being able to pay attention while speaking, I also don't hear an echo or much of a problem with the audio. That's the professionalism I bring.
No, the key is doing the same thing I've done the other times that happens to work. So, yeah.
Right?
That's a great inspirational poster.
Figure it out and then do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Do the thing.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, the Emerald Enclave is it's very strong, right? Because it's got people, it's got like giant trees and shambling mounts and all sorts of things.
That's right. We'll get to you eventually. We just might need a few years.
Yeah, they're remote. I mean, they've been spreading out their influence, especially now. They're you outdid any influence they had. So with that combination, I think it's kind of interesting, right, to see how the Emerald Enclave is going, because of course, in modern 5e lore, they're sort of a big world-spanning thing.
Yeah.
And that was a journey for them. And we're sort of seeing an alternate way for that to play out. So maybe it kind of makes me want to play a 5e game in the future after this campaign with this continuity. Just to have like that. Oh no, yeah, like the forests are bad. You don't want to go out and sleep in the forest. That's terrible. And the Emerald Enclave being these sort of violent, sociopathic, like aberrant hunters, right? That's.
I'd made mention in the group chat that I'd been looking for Forgotten Realms supplements to like grasp like about the Emerald Enclave, like its past and then like its future, and definitely like in 5e it has that reorganized enclave under Shadow Moon, the healed Cinder Moon after I think it's maybe like the Chosen of Laplander that like removes shards and influence from her.
Things are in the works, as it turns out.
Yeah. And then it has like its influence like loosely expanded across all of Faerun, whereas in before the Spell Plague they have like their islands like in the Vilhan Reach that they're super blessed and they're pretty powerful and they're pretty quick to respond, but it's just localized in that area.
Yeah, the it's kind of interesting actually that the writers originally latched onto that faction as being like the Druid faction. Do you think it was like the High Conclave of the High Woods or something? But I like them. They certainly have had quite a few identity crises in lore. Not really knowing what they are and having quite a tumultuous story that hasn't really been told before now. But of course, yeah, they used to have an island, but then as it happened, the water sank so low that the Vilhorn Reach became the Vilhorn Wilds, basically because a lot of the big lakes and seas and stuff just disappeared.
And all the magical protections that they had, like with Sylvanas, just kind of evaporated in the events of the Spell Plague and that.
And now here they are. A while later.
I don't object to Cinder Moon healing though. If someone's going to restore her, I'm not adamantly opposed to that.
Honestly,
things are happening.
From even the stuff you linked in such Grimmith, I'm like, clearly there's rich lore that I want to consume here, but like also, it's like, oh man.
It's the strength of playing in the Forgotten Realms. And the weakness, I suppose, that there's so much, so much, right?
Yeah, don't worry. Decades of experienced and professional writers and decades of amateurs as well have taken care of all of the lore building for you already.
Yeah.
I enjoy the lore building though, and it really is more like building a Lego city out of several completed buildings, but of various different styles.
Right, it's different play sets, and you just like mush them together.
Sometimes there's just like, oh yes, this person says this, and this person disagrees and says this. One of them probably, but that's okay too. This is our realms. We're certainly developing them, even if this is a localized area. We're sort of on the periphery of a lot of big things happening, right? I sort of knew that when I picked this area as our spot, because it's a good place. It's well fleshed out, but there's also lots of room, and it's not like it's not like the center of attention for a lot of.
With this timetable for activity, how could we possibly be hit with another curse of lethargy? We would miss out on so much.
Man,
It'll
Grimmett,
never
you're
happen
jumping the
again.
gun on all my announcements this session. God damn. Calm down. Look at my notes. What was that? What was that old map tool version hacking thing? What's happening?
I'm sorry, DM. Please proceed.
God, hacking? Hey, man, that's wow.
Apparently, that's where all my brain power went when I wasn't finishing my fucking blurb for my character.
Yeah, well, I mean,
All right. I guess we can do a recap. I'll do a recap. Sheep and area have done the past too. The burdens of being a player in a video game or role-playing game, not a video. Hi everyone. Welcome to session 107 of Dredge the Dragon Coast. Last session, about half of it featured consequences of choices. The Emerald Enclave gathered in Cindermoon's predetermined meeting location, and the Enclave leadership, the folks who matter, got to experience the depths of Cindermoon's rage and despair. Despair, at least. Not everyone wanted to plumb the depths of... it's difficult to articulate. Some sort of bizarre, oozy shadow pool that threatened to overwhelm your very being and essence upon touching it. Just so that you could experience the core of despair and vengeance operating in one of the most powerful individuals in this region, if perhaps not one of the more powerful individuals across Faerû. Hooray. So that happened, and then there was a glorious skill challenge to influence the powerful elements of the Emerald Enclave, and it ended with Cindermoon walking into the depths of that pool, and Veros, the Archdruid of Myliki, revealing himself to be Gildenfire, an Elder Gold Dragon, and setting the entire location of the meeting on fire. Cindermoon is gone now, and there is a leadership vacuum in the Enclave, which Imisrae Leaders here has worked to fill. That was the primary focus of last session. Other bits of news would be that the Radiant Host has pushed the Netheril invaders, the Shadowvar, out beyond our map, and there's continuing to be fighting up north. Valignith presented an ultimatum to Tazir to separate itself from Cormyrean influence, or he would separate it from Cormyrean influence. And he is much less gentle. Plans have been made in Westgate to hopefully locate a certain tomb of great import beneath the city. The mighty, intelligent Zethesden the Undying is on the case, though despite the resources he's been allocated, that search may be complicated by the flooding depths, courtesy of the perpetual rains falling over Westgate, brought to you by the Chosen of Umberley. Looking at the map, that's about it for important things. Where Cicatrix and Valignith did a bit more plotting regarding Severius, but nothing has come overly of that at this particular time, something to look forward to in the future. That's all I got for the recap.
And I think that's pretty good. Now, We completed a lot of goals last time.
Yep.
3 of 6, actually. So,
I got 2 of them are mine. Hooray. So, first goal slot I want to do does involve what I would like to eventually turn into an asset. So, psionics are this world's natural defensive response against the far realm. And looking at everything I have access to, psionic users is not on the list. It's not something that the Emerald Enclave has ever looked to, like, aggregate. It's not something I don't think anyone in this region has ever looked to aggregate, at least people who aren't Spellscarred. And that's a pretty big limiting factor for my dragon. What I am looking to do is, I can't really say it's a school, because I don't know whether Imisrae leaders here actually intends to turn her haphazard manner of psionics into some sort of formal training course. It's not something battle minds typically do anyway, per the lore presented to me in Psionic Power, though it can happen. But she looks to gather, like, those who demonstrate psionic talent, like Shadowrun to her for the purposes of, like, molding them into something she can use against the far realm. Like, folks that are intimately knowledgeable, who are experienced, who have perhaps plumbed the depths beneath the surface and taken the fight to mind flayers and aboleths and fucking mimics and beholders, and are prepared to do what it takes to keep challenging these aberrant entities moving forward.
Mhm.
I
Alright.
want to assemble a psionic justice league.
So it sounds like you're looking for significant individuals rather than numerous
Yes.
individuals.
Yeah, I need folks of import who can then do the work for the dragon, so she doesn't have to.
Okay.
She just finds a few powerful pieces.
Yeah.
The rest will fill itself in.
Yeah. All right. How do we know when that's completed? You have an asset, I suppose.
Yeah. One that is specifically, like, dedicated and targeting, like, aberrant creatures.
Mm-hmm. We call that, we probably call it, like, gather and maybe assemble is a better word for it.
Yeah, assemble.
Assemble a force of psionic enemies of the far realm. That seems like the idea, right?
Yep.
Sorry?
I was going to mention that the bird's still showing on the stream.
Oh! All my direction and pointing hasn't mattered then. Well, here we go. This should be the right one, I think. Yeah, no? Not showing the mannequin. Oh, of course.
Do you have it minimized?
No, it's because the file name is different because the
Oh,
map
yes,
name is different.
yes.
So, let's see here. I have this one. I think that might be the wrong one. I can test it easily by switching to it. It's this time. It must be this one. There.
The struggles of content creation.
Yes. Well, it'll get so absorbed into you guys that it's good that you said something. Yes. Good. Great. So the goal would be as such. I'm gonna suggest this a medium goal, because there is difficulty to it, of course, finding and inspiring these people to join you.
Sure,
That
it's
said-
not in being opposed, but in the
Yeah.
actual locating of these
Exactly.
individuals.
It's there's no one directly who's stopping you, and it's not hard because individuals who are significant and already enemies of the Far Realm are not going to be super opposed to fighting the Far Realm. Right? That's not. It's not really.
That's good.
That's not really a.
I'm
hard
retired.
sell.
I'm not up for it anymore.
Have to come out of retirement.
Okay. My other goal slot is going to be something lighthearted, perhaps something that'll be pursued today as a break, but who knows? And it was in thinking about the feat that I have chosen, Pure Mind, to give me Resist 10 Psychic, and it's in thinking about the lamentable state of my Dragon Horde, because I don't feel like this is an epic tier Dragon Horde, and I gotta bolster it up so I can attract more powerful adventurers to come beat me up. And so the second goal is to ransack the Palace of Nathlek. I hear there's 3 Sphinxes guarding it, and, I gotta make sure they're not too lazy. I'll know when that's done, because I'll feel as if I've gotten the most powerful prizes out of the palace. I don't have to take everything and put it in my, my portable hole. I just gotta take what I think is the best stuff.
Ransack the Palace of. Now, there's of course significant opposition to it.
Is there? Damn, I
You're
didn't think
pretty-
they'd be
you're pretty
significant
powerful,
anymore.
Though. Yeah, that's what I'm debating. I think it's a medium goal. I don't think. I mean, they have power, but on the other hand, so do you, right? Especially
Yeah.
as a group. So yeah, we'll call that a medium goal. Ransack the Palace of Nathlek. Seems
Yeah.
gotta get my riddle game good.
Yeah, those bastards have been teasing me since I initially raided the place, and I was too distracted by Shar, but now that I have the psychic resistance, the immunity to daze, metagame Grimmeth is ready.
Don't care about your riddles.
That's right.
All right. Then we have one, I believe, for sheep.
Yes. I have a goal. I have 2 goals,
Okay.
but only one can actually fit.
Got it.
So, could you list the current goals again?
I sure can. We have integrate the Sleepers Council into the Mart, reestablish the giant ritual sites, remove Cormia from the Dragon Coast, assemble a force of psionic enemies of the Far Realm, and ransack the Palace of
All right. My goal shall be to finally find the tomb below Westgate. I think that's a very, quantifiable goal
Okay, yeah.
I've been pursuing anyways.
Is find gonna be you being there, or you have any idea of where it is?
I mean, I'm gonna settle for having the location.
It's an easy goal.
I mean, you say that, but okay.
So was
Um,
finding a node worthy of Malignif.
Yes, that was a very easy goal.
It's all up to chance.
No, it's because you already have people working on it, so.
It is true that goals are much easier if you've already almost completed them.
Mm-hmm. Like easy to say you walked 1,000 steps if you already walked 999 of them. One more step. So yeah, that'll be an easy goal. Good. Then that is that is the goals we have here. Now, another thing that happened last time is that we transitioned from Paragon tier into our Epic tier with the first level of our Epic Destinies. Woo! Each of you has had the homework of preparing a little scene or blurb which might highlight how this this change has happened for your character. Because of course it has been gradual, right? But there might still be a moment or an event or something that has sort of that shows the change, right? Because your legend is beginning to spread quickly now. You're no longer just powerful entities. You're becoming sort of, in a very real way, actors of fate or destiny, or at least other people's destiny. You are becoming the fabric of the world. And of course, this is just the first step. But in our 9 more levels, you'll become, well, epic, right? Truly and thoroughly, undeniably powerful. In a way that makes you so powerful that it almost ends you, right? The epic destinies have usually a sort of future, an immortality, a legacy for you. Happens when you get to that level, because you seem to become so powerful that you really you transcend the actions of mortals and become a creature of gods, or even beyond. Now we're going to have a journey there, and these moments, I'm curious to hear and see what you have in mind. I'm really giving you any leashes or anything like that. It really is just a chance to show off the character, what they are now, and perhaps also how they feel about it. Yeah. If they're aware. So, does anyone want to begin? Or, no?
I refuse. I just did the recap. I need to rest my throat.
Man, this feels like being back to being teaching math. Does anyone want to come to the blackboard and solve the equation? No, usually not. All right. Is it because you all would like 5 minutes to just take a look at what you have, or?
I would like that probably.
Okay.
I also have to shamefully admit, between getting vaccinated and having a fever for the past few days, I don't have anything written down, but I can definitely improvise something.
This is what happens when you assign homework, man. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've
I-
never felt more
No.
more in school than at this moment.
So here, I can talk about anecdotes about teaching. Say that I was the math teacher who said to my students that I don't really like homework, because they don't like, it's not the people who really need to do the homework are the people who are not going to do the homework, and the people who don't need to do the homework are the kids that are going to spend all their time doing the homework. So
I didn't need to do the homework, and I didn't spend my time doing the homework, so...
No, I mean, it's just an opportunity. We can, of course, skip it if you guys don't want to, but I think it's fun, and let's just take a moment, and I can... See, I don't really want to talk too much to you at the same time, and it seems like...
Right. I can't launch into then, like, saying, like, oh, I'll just do mine, because then, like, the other 2 players are distracted crafting. So,
Yeah. So how
I can't
about
fill the void.
we take a brief break, and you all can sort of get ready. I think it's an important thing. It's a big transition, right? Before I get into to what might be going on in the world. I think that makes sense. Because again, I could begin talking about the news and such, but if you're all thinking about something else, then that's sort of a mute point. So let's just say we'll excitingly start this episode with a 10-minute break.
Congratulations. Welcome to Dreads of the Dragon Coast, everyone. That recap was tiring.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now you must break.
And then, 10 minutes. So.
Yeah, imagine like soothing, like intermission music playing for you all in the background. but we can't do that.
No, I
The,
could try.
the Twitch
to
people
do-
will get him.
I could try to do music, but I think
It's okay,
with the
don't do it.
audio situation I
Don't
have,
try.
I don't know that I would dare to put anything extra in there.
Feeling brave, Manica? What if you injected another source of audio into the
What
mix?
happens if I play something through my headphones into my microphone, which then reverberates back to my microphone twice and then goes out to you? Maybe you'll hear it like 3 times. Yeah. No, spent my time here moving smooth map panoramas across the world. Or tell you what, in chat if we have anyone who's looking around. There's a couple people. If you have any questions, I'll be looking at the chat now. That seems like the least I can do, right? Is there anything you want to see while my players here are taking a break?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you
Little
like
chat
opportunities,
interactivity, right?
like
That's what Twitch tells me I have to do. So if you want to grow as a
if anyone has like questions for you about the campaign that you can answer.
oh yeah. Otherwise, I can be coy about it.
Yeah, you could be coy. Don't worry, Manikai. If you can't answer, I'll answer for them. Because I'm apparently looking at your stuff anyway.
What was it you used to do? Donate and get insulted or something like that? Where's get on
Who says
that?
I still don't?
Oh, fair. Hmm.
You had made mention about transitioning us away from a region focus into a broader focus. Are you frightened by the size of the image file that would be?
I would probably have like we have the Serpent Valley.
Okay.
I don't have it yet, but yeah, we might well get a Faerun map somewhere here, but it would be a smaller map. I don't need like.
Right.
Like 10
I only
megabytes or
asked about
something.
being frightened, not just in resolution, but in sheer like file size, just due to like how immaculately detailed the larger version of this is.
Oh yeah, that's huge. It's also the wrong time.
It
Since
is.
I've had
it
to
is.
edit this picture myself to make it fit, but
Are there any like actual like 4th edition like at time of like just after Spellplague like maps?
there is a world map
Oh, okay.
for the 4th edition world. That shows where all the things broke and which parts of a beer and such were moved around. Quite a lot of stuff happened, right? But yeah. See, the bat asks, how is Eastings feeling about the whole Cormurian War, since they're part of the expedition south of the Dragon? So you're probably talking about Erebor over here, and Easting. The Easting is the sort of small village here, and then Erebor is the larger, really independent city-state, the gateway to the west or east, depending on where you live. How do they feel about the Cormurian War? Well, they don't like Shar. Now, they're not directly participating. They're not going up there to fight. So to speak, they're happy to keep the darkness out of their sort of immediate area, right? They're a city-state, they have limited reach, and they are not a subject of Cormur. They're an ally. In sort of the same way, really, as we in the future might see a Lord's Alliance form between different sovereignties who sort of make joint forces of adventurers and armies and such to go and enact things in the world. That is sort of what they're doing with the expedition. The lords there want Cormur to stay alive, and if Cormur was really struggling, they might commit more, but what they can actually exert outside of their home region is limited. Much like Tysir and Westgate. They're powerful in their own place, but going far out, it's not really possible for them. Or any faction of their size, really, to some degree. They're somewhat known for their mercenary companies, which, Cormur can hire if they want to. Similar to how Termish is known for their mercenary companies. I mean, most people don't like this whole darkness covering the land and everything dying and crumbling from lack of sun. It's not generally a popular ideology. Again, some people don't care, you know. That can be someone else's problem, they say. It's a relatable thought. Now, of course, Proskür and Priapearl and Eastings here. Easting and Priapearl are fairly, really, they're the smallest villages here on here. They're sort of the same size as Redmond's here was. Right? Then you have Proskür and Elversalt that are a bit bigger because they're more directly sort of trade cities. Then, of course, you have the Cormyrian capital there, Zusail Sember, which is a metropolis. Westgate itself is also massive, and Tissir is a bit smaller than Westgate, but certainly more organized. I think given the history it's had here, they're probably quite a bit smaller. Got a couple of villages down by the Snowflake Mountains. We've got cities in Termish, though they aren't really on the map, since Termish is sort of not popular. And same with Amn. Doesn't really have it, so it's from here. That said, maybe we could have Amn more involved. Again, to invade. But there really isn't much to invade over here. Mountains and plains and big hole in the ground. They have their sights on other treasures, mostly on their maritime empire. I've been seeing comments and such on the videos as well. I do read them, a few we get, and try to answer any questions there might be. Also, well, it doesn't really matter to any people watching here on Twitch, but hopefully I can continue being reliable with the quick uploads, since this Twitch export to YouTube thing actually works really well if I just start it when the session's over. Then it's sort of there the next morning. I think that's reasonable. How is Elversalt rebuilding? Elversalt is it's trying, right? But these times there isn't much trade going on for various reasons, really. Trade was always the lifeblood of the city. I mean, it has farms and such that can feed it, but the wealth isn't really there, which means that there aren't a lot of people moving in. It is certainly still a depopulated city. It's going to take a while for it to really bloom. And it's going to need that trade to come pick back up. Given with
one day.
Given with
one day that trade will come.
Given Sembia's current state, the fleet of Umberlee. The south is somewhat cleared up. I mean, there's a bunch of savage beasts and stuff, but nothing really insurmountable.
Yeah.
But it is still going to take a bit more for it to really get.
Yeah.
There's some
all southern travelers have to do just pass through the beasts, the poison land, and then the promised passage, and then they'll be home free.
It's going to be great. You must admire those people, right? Who come from the other end of the world, and literally another continent. They travel with a cart of silk all the way to Waterdeep by sort of, foot and ship and whatnot. It's why those things are so incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
And of course, people in Waterdeep, there's some people who can afford it.
That's right. The profit to be made of being the one to deliver the cargo of silk bolts.
You
to
go
Waterdeep.
once, and then you're done.
I think I'll just live here in Waterdeep now.
Now I have money enough to go and buy a teleportation circle trip back home.
That's, I suppose that's true.
Makes that several-year journey really seem worth it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like, I guess I'm leaving the ship here.
Hmm.
I'll get a new one.
Let's go home with my money.
Yeah, I guess if you're only personally making half the trip, it's not so bad.
Hmm.
You don't have to make the return trip.
You know, when you suddenly pay like 10,000 gold and then step through a circle and then you're home and then you think of all the friends you lost along the way to get that exact journey over the last 4 years or something. You know, you're like, well, kind of hate
Well.
wizards now. Yeah.
An experience that could never be duplicated.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean, we've
It's-
seen so many things. Maybe begin to actually appreciate that idea that the dragons know better when you go home to your stable, prosperous land. You know, sure, it's very lawful. That's the way of things, but well, it's messed up.
I don't think I would extrapolate from that dragons know best. But, I'm willing to take that propaganda.
All right. Does anyone feel a little more confident about talking about the character?
I noted that I was... Yeah, I can go. Just... I'm cool.
I can go too. I did a little bit of a thing, but I know what my character's about. I don't need to write everything down, even though I just did.
Only instruction of these notes I've written is the truth of my character.
Yeah. Exactly.
She looks into her eyes and eats the notes.
She needed to write down the notes on paper
That's all I
so that he would
need.
set fire to them as he
Uh.
speaks.
I mean,
Grab a lighter.
let's do it then.
Yes.
Sheep, if you will set us the scene.
All right. For Belignev, perhaps contrary to his very character, the scene is subtle. Perhaps for the people around, as he ponders, as he usually does, in the center of the plateau of the Dragonfane, they won't realize the momentous occasion because it's entirely something that Belignev realizes. Not something that happens to him, nor something that he makes happen. It is just understanding what he himself is all about, really. What he has done in the past, what he will do in the future, what he perhaps even has to do, although he's not entirely sure about that. Figuring out what he has to do would mean, well, making a plan and following it to the letter. That's not how the world works, he learned that. But at least maybe he can understand himself. Because for him it was, well, his ascension was the result of pondering. Questions, of plans, of considerations, of how to follow through with his mad plan of appealing to the Queen of Dragonkind to strengthen her to the point where she may be able to oppose even hell itself, and if she is willing to do that, and able to do that, and succeeds, it would be a solution to his predicament. Years at this point he has spent solving and resolving the problems that are involved in trying to reshape a world, really. Not just making a country or conquering a country, but trying to give countries away, basically. Making an empire of dragonkind, so to speak. And at the same time, not only trying to get there, but also trying to find ways that it's stable, that it lasts. He was trying to make something that lasts, after all. Or was he? That's perhaps the fault that got the fire, the the spark of realization going for him. Perhaps it was the talk with Savrius that made him realize his mistake in his thinking. He pondered. See, sits there, the sun shining on his red scales. It's probably a bunch of his minions scurrying about. But they've learned at this point that whenever he sits there and thinks, they don't need to bother him. They shouldn't bother him. Basically, he becomes more like the terrain or like a statue, just being present. It was, for Veliknev, nice and, most importantly, quite simple to be alone with one's faults. It was, however, infuriating that his faults rarely led anywhere new. The same problems, the same paths treaded over and over again. But on this day, the words stability, compromise, cooperation, those, he realized, were the themes that in the past had been grueling affairs. Thunderhome was proof that it was only the threat of annihilation that mattered in the end, and the years and years and years before that, they helped. Couldn't deny that, but it was, as he has said, grueling. But the thing is, to have that threat, you need to be powerful, which he simply does not have the time for. Sure, he is patient, but as Savrius put it, Veliknev will, by the very definition of how time works itself, never be as old as he is. And Savrius is not the only threat, for that remains true. Power, however, comes in many shapes. Veliknev has ingenuity, skill, mettle, and people, and he has used them before, and whenever he did, success followed. Not easily, of course, but compared to the politicking, the promises, the trades, the compromises, it was in war where he changed the face of the world. Many times at this point. Small changes in the grand scheme of things, but changes that changed maps and changed minds nonetheless. War in the end was a simple affair.
All right. Ponders, and he finds something. Do you think Malignant is aware that he is, like, of what he's becoming?
I don't think he is directly aware of it, although really everything he does is actively working towards it, and something in him wants to be that thing. But Veliknev is a creature of not necessarily instinct or subconscious, but perhaps a mix of the two. He does what he does because it feels like the right thing to do. It feels like that's what being him means. That's what being a dragon means. And more often than not in the past, that sort of inner fire that pushed him towards the direction, and his considerations, his faults, his activities themselves were somewhat opposed at times. However, whenever he gets to a resolution like this, a decision on how to act in the future, he immediately recognizes if it was the right one or not. And this, the inner rage that pushes him to do things, that just basically screams at him to get out there and do something, is quiet and perhaps contemplation and contentment for maybe not the first time, but it's a rare time where Veliknev feels content with himself.
All right.
The calm before the storm, so to speak.
Yeah, and how big of a change do you think going forward we're going to see in Malignant's behavior, given this realization?
Perhaps on a personal character level, not that much, really. He has always been, impulsive and all that, and enjoying the battles. That won't change. It's just that on the grand scale, he's never really wanted to acknowledge that. He's sort of trying to, although he would never admit it, try to model his actions on the well, not global, but the more the regional scale to what Emmy has taught him over and over again. Don't rush into things. Sometimes few sweet words do more than the sharpest claw. Those sorts of things, but that's not him. That was never him. It's reasonable, certainly, but that's just not him. And I imagine it's more on that scale where you notice the change, a shift of priorities on the global scale, while he himself he has never tried to change or hide the fact that he does enjoy the simple solutions.
All right. Well, thank you. Ari, do you feel ready to follow up? Or
Yeah.
all right, then you have the floor.
Yeah. The scene starts in the Horde of Severus. I imagine there's treasure there, but the scene is centered on a big, glowy orb. The Orb of Storms, to be specific. See it roaming in there. And maybe at this moment Severus has his claw on it as he lies and, like any black dragon, looks to be slumbering, but he's probably pondering about, well, being the Black Dread and destroying Cormyr and how soon he will be the true king, the Black Dread, truly in name. And over the scene, as he's lying there, there is a cold whisper, repeated over and over. Everything you have, everything you are. Everything you have, everything you are. It goes on and on. And as the picture fades into black, another sentence is added. And it is, and for the inconvenience you have caused me, it will still never be enough. And the next scene is the ripple through a pool of crystal clear water. We zoom out, is a scrying bassin, and a reflection of something very dark, moving fast. There's the sound of something huge gliding into water. Next, we see again darkness, and there is two orbs of glowing yellow as a clawed foot or hand or shoots out towards the camera, and it is gone. Yeah.
Certainly, it seems to be manifesting as somewhat of a furthering of the obsessiveness we've seen from Cicatrix.
Yes, I want to sort of move her into the direction of she's always been angry, but I think as this epic destiny manifests itself, it'll become more cool in a way, like not as much the like spouts of anger and yelling and screaming, but a much more sinister form of anger, to sort of further into her, like, see it done. And yeah.
There's a target on Sever, yes. Sounds right.
Yes.
Yeah. Is Recicatrix like that doesn't sound like a cognizant change. More of a what sort of self-realization do you think Recicatrix had that has led to this?
I think it is something that has been coming. I think there's that again, sort of with Vindictive, the meeting with Severus, of course, but also the frustration of having to wait with these things. I think just like she wants to play the long game with Severus, but at the same time, I think she's starting to have the realization that like he laughs at other black dragons, right? Because there will never be a good time. And I think she sort of is realizing that, yeah, there will never be good time unless she makes a good time. Like, she will have to make that happen.
So very much like Malignant, there is a reflection upon, or rather it sort of turns the compulsion like the facets of a diamond, right? You're looking at it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
As a character, perhaps beginning to realize who you are and what you need to embrace in order for that to grow. I suppose in Cicatrix's case, that is doing things, not waiting.
Yeah. What could go wrong, right? Two warmongering dragons.
Yeah. Well, it's better than one warmer and game of One Piece loving.
You know? Yeah.
Alright. That brings us over to Imisrae the Griffin.
You got it, boss. It was the 30th of Uktar, on the calendar of Harptos, the day before the Feast of the Moon. Beneath wintry skies, 2,000 creatures gathered at the Grand Temple of Malar to partake in the upcoming High Hunt. They were travelers from across the Dragon Coast and Vilhan Reach, followers of Malar, novitiates of the Emerald Enclave, the curious, the vicious, and the ridiculous. Demi-humans, humanoids, intelligent beasts. They explored the marble halls of the Grand Temple. They genuflected before the bloodstone altar. They overwhelmed the satellite structures, so they made patchwork encampments along the shore, a flabbergasting array of fire pits and pavilions. And they waited impatiently, for today was a ceremony of its own. Today was the final day to register in the High Hunt. Now the right priests meandered through the masses, taking names, explaining rules, and providing ceremonial daggers. Yes, the 30th of Uktar threatened to be an uneventful day, full of little but anticipation. Salvation came to the bored and restless then, salvation in the form of choppy waves and crimson sea foam washing upon the shore. A sign of Umberlee, perhaps? But then, ascending from the depths, a powerful figure of scales and teeth, not at all like Umberlee. The young dragon Imisrae the Griffin, covered in sea water and mucus and translucent tentacled things. She strode upon the land and casually removed her luggage. Then she took flight and landed in the midst of the encampment. It gladdens me to see so many here today, and not just locals, but visitors from abroad. Welcome to the High Temple of Malar, and my home. Her eyes glinted through the slime, and her body whirled in the light. I'm sure the High Hunt's rules have been explained to you all. I will not belabor them. I wish only to emphasize the differences. A High Hunt traditionally involves a small group pursuing a singular target. We do nothing of the sort here. I import prisoners from Naflek and Termish, hundreds of them with varying pedigree and skill, all well fed, and they will be well equipped tomorrow when they are given their chance to win their freedom. These are not livestock for slaughter. You would do well to remember caution. In addition, for the first time ever, I am offering all prisoners an opportunity to skip the high hunt. Those who elect for my mercy will be rowed out 5 kilometers and dumped, unbound, unequipped, and unharmed into the sea. If they make it back to shore, congratulations to them. They won't win future immunity from high hunts or an audience with me, but they will at least have survived Umberlee's wrath. And perhaps that's worth more than anything I could provide. The dragon takes a moment to scrape slime from her face. I do not intend to speak after the high hunt, and this may be our last moment together. So before I part now, I will bestow a history lesson. The world has changed in my brief life. The gods have faltered. Nature did as well. Spellfire and ruin swept the land. And Faerun's defenders, its protectors, became divided over how to proceed, weakened by external threats and internal strife. I will not say those divisions are absent, nor will I say nature's defenders are stronger now than they have ever been. But Sylvanas is returning. He must, by the goad of Malar, witness the strength you see around you, not just in yourselves, but in the land and the sea. I intend for it to spread across Faerun. It is my hope, when you leave here, that you feel as I do, and that you share those feelings with others. Let every druid, ranger, barbarian know the Emerald Enclave intends to preserve nature in all its forms, anywhere. Let every foolish lumberjack and scheming merchant know that civilization's expansion will be controlled, everywhere. For everything in nature has its place. There is a balance to be kept, and the weaklings of this world, they need our guidance and patience more than ever. I will provide that for centuries to come. The dragon departs the gathered masses, leaving them to their thoughts and the anticipation, as Grimmith veers this party bus off of written word and into his notes and ad-lib. Now it is the Feast of the Moon, the time between Uktar and Nighthall. It is night, and the Gulfmere is alive. Exultations of victory, cries of despair, the high hunt is well underway. Atop the Grand Temple, lit by the stars sapphire and Novacree's Tower of Light, Imisrae the Griffin watches the wilderness, and she smiles. Beside her is the bloodstone altar dedicated to Malar, not that anyone could see it. Beneath a mountain of gore, of caked flesh, and mauve skin, and alien faces, and unrecognizable limbs. We need each other, the dragon says. You are the Alpha, simple, destructive, hungry. I am the survivor, flexible, adapting, and compared to you, generous, merciful. There are so many in this world that would not deal with you, but they look upon me and say, well, maybe. I have given you success. I have erased your failure. I have provided blood in droves, and I have granted the strong. And you have given me legitimacy, the opportunity to advocate that I am but a servant of an exarch of Sylvanas, not of some bloodthirsty, unreasonable monster. Dragon taps the marble at the top of the immense Mesoamerican step pyramid. She doesn't look back at the mountain of gore she's piled back on the altar. After a few moments, says, but what does... She hisses. None of this matters. Not to me. I'm doing this for one reason. For one reason. For something you have. For something
so many of these mewling weaklings have. Something that I never had and may never get. Freedom. When any living creature dies, its soul departs and heads to the realm of Kelemvor to await judgment. Those who never followed a god, they are doomed, melded into some abhorrent wall of slime. Those who betrayed, egregiously, their god, are instead sentenced to some form of punishment to look over Kelemvor's world. But every soul ends up going to its appropriate and proper place. And so every living being gets to make the choice of where it is they will go upon death. The marble beneath her cracks under the weight of her power as she strikes it. I have never gotten that choice. The freedom is denied. She whirls back to look at the Mountain of Gore, and I will have that freedom. The freedom an alpha predator has to take what they desire. Consequences be damned. Even if it results in failure. I don't have the luxury of failure. She swats one of the bodies, and the head of a mind flayer goes caterwauling off the temple and into the darkness. If you desire my continued allegiance, my soul to be alongside yours in the afterlife, you will find a way to grant me my freedom, Malar. For the spellfire avatar of Nobanian is mine to subdue, and when I possess its power, I will find someone, something that can grant me my freedom, whether it's you or another. And if you wish that spellfire avatar to be placed upon your altar here, you will do something. You might not be one for sharing power, but I am not some mewling servant. One bargains with equals or near equals, and you will recognize me as such, or you will be denied me. She sieves for a bit longer and shakes her head, looking back at the forest. None of this matters. Nothing, except the opportunity for freedom. That's it, I'm done.
All right. Huh. Certainly highlights Imisrae's new focus, I suppose, in what she places upon the altar. Could you, just as a player, elaborate? Like, her focus is on these aberrant creatures. Is that because they seem like the most dangerous prey, or?
I don't think so. I think it's training to face the Spellfire Avatar of Nobanian.
All right, yeah.
By combating and directly wrestling with entities from the far realm, she is steeling herself against the Spellfire.
Yeah.
So that she may subdue Nobanian.
Getting better ready.
Yeah. The fact that they're from the far realm, they're abhorrent in nature, is secondary to her primary concern for earning her freedom.
Mm-hmm. And the path she's going down seems to be that of bargaining, trying to simply.
It is her nature. She is not just a predator with tooth and claw, but a predator with words, in a way that certainly a follower Millard never exhibits. And she intends to use that aspect, her talents, to win her freedom by any means necessary, because it is what matters to her.
Yeah, I mean, that is sort of what the campaign's about. in the grand scale, it is that the dragons are doomed. Beginning. They are made to return to the death that they started out with, really. Unless they do something to alter their fate. Yeah.
Turns out we very much agree on altering our fates.
Yes, you know, it's the thing, right? It's like nothing even slightly less would have made all these dragons work together. Like they had to be.
We just very much disagree on the way to get there, which I do enjoy.
Yeah. And the dragons don't even have like the same philosophy beyond that. Like, Imisrae the Griffin does not resent Yaffle or even Hell. They were incredibly powerful. They ended up creating her and like welding her soul back together. And if she were powerful enough to do that, she probably would have done the same. She just yearns for freedom.
She wishes it wasn't her.
Yes. It's not so much a vengeance thing as a this is personal for me in a way that it has to be.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, one of these, one of these levels, things will have to escalate. I've always said the hope is we get to level 30, but we might not. Things might be solved before then. Because we're getting to a level of power where you can begin to really mess with the world, right? In ways that are sort of world-shattering in some ways. Which means that to some degree, things that were once impossible or off the table will no longer really be. And creatures that once saw you as little begin to have the feeling that you're more important. Because it's really is undeniable. Yeah, certainly Emmy, having fought mind flayers, might indeed notice that she's become rather difficult for them to deal with. The same way as
I think so. The dragons tend to accumulate like embedded wealth inside their hides, like gems and gold from like how they sleep. So it's no stranger that it's going to be there. Just maybe that it glows along with her body when she fights them.
Yeah. Well, do you have any questions for each other before we move on to the worlds?
Mm.
Oh.
I mean,
No.
my question isn't so much a question, but Emmy organizes a great hunt and then invites none of the other dragons. Vanagon would have been into that. But
It's for
I also,
Mandar
as a
was-
player, recognize why he didn't get invited.
Just the apex predators as two epic character dragons just crashed the party.
Well, I could perhaps ask though. So Velignith would have gone to a great hunt of Malar?
I mean, Velignith does anything.
Or whatever.
As long as there's free beers.
No,
you know?
I think to rephrase my intent here. How do the other dragons, if at all, fit into Emmy's faith? Is she bargaining only for herself, or is it like how far does her faults go there?
Well, if she could win her freedom, even if it were for herself, if that could be a coin that some agent or divinity could offer her, she would absolutely take that. Like, it would be like she would like if Velignith and the other like wormlings that she was born with could also be freed from that. But she's not going to say no or like refuse if she could win the freedom just for herself. The Velignith she has a deep emotional attachment to, because with Tilraxos far-flung in some fairyland, and Veristrix far beyond what she could hope to reach. Not that she hasn't thought of trying, but it's too much effort. It seems so insurmountable. Velignith is the only one who understands, who could understand, who was raised by Basarek as she was. And so she has a strong fondness for him, and a deep care. She would want to see Velignith have the same freedom that she would have. Cicatrix, she feels deeply conflicted about, and probably feels the same way that Cicatrix does feel towards the Imisrae leaders here, which is, we have to be here, and fuck you, but also fuck this.
Right? It's like, even when all this is done, like, I don't think they would be like. It's the kind of things like, you know what? I'm just gonna leave you be, and you can leave me be, and like this, we should never see each other again.
Yeah, we're gonna respect each other's territory and
Yeah.
never see each other
Like,
again for
over
the
there,
rest of the.
there's the powerful green dragon. Would be a lot of trouble to deal with her. I think I'll just go this way. Yeah.
Much
Some
as
respect.
dragons tend to treat each other.
Sorry.
No, go for it.
Okay. To elaborate on Chief's question, perhaps. One dragon leaving the ritual, right, has actually been contemplated. Because that is what would happen if a dragon, like, really died, right? Their soul would no longer be able to contribute to Yaffle. If a dragon purchased itself out of the ritual, which is maybe not even impossible, it would mean that the burden that dragon's soul would have taken would now be upon the others so much greater, which would vastly accelerate the others' death, basically, because eventually the ritual will demand too much. And they will grow lethargic to the point of dying out. Would her freedom balance out the same act killing Malignant?
Yes, without a question. That's the draconic compulsion lived to its maximum.
Mm-hmm.
No effort wasted. If there is not a reasonable way she can find to save Valignith as well from the freedom, then farewell Valignith.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been disappointed if the answer had been anything else.
She would like to have a victory where they both escape the ritual, and to hell with Tilraxis and Ferristrand. Or maybe everyone can escape the ritual. Although she hasn't ruled out bargaining with anyone or working together with anyone. That includes Yaffle, because she has no resentment for Jaffle. The gears are spinning there for how she can win her freedom. But if she can't see another path to get Valignith out, and it just has to be her, then there will be no hesitation. She will take that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
It's her draconic nature.
Yeah. So, to follow that up, now that we're in epic tier, before I begin to let the world spin and have people show up to talk to you and such, is there anything any of the dragons want to do, like, immediately upon the end of winter? The winter is again mild, given the much rain that is falling across the coast of the Dragon Coast here. So inland, certainly in the mountains, you're looking at more drought. Lack of water, slow moving. It's dry. It's unpleasantly dry.
Well, if one misses the water, they can always go to Westgate, where there's a plenty
Oh, yes.
for everyone.
I have no immediate action. I'm settling into my role as an elder of the Emerald Enclave.
Yeah. You got, like, meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
Conclaves. Really, the thing about these druids is they really don't like talking a lot, so...
Yeah.
Sort of mostly get to just...
I'm in a prominent, powerful enough position that people are coming to me to ask advice, which is great. What do you think the dragon's gonna give us advice? Well, she follows Malar.
Oh, the greatest thing is that they're going to say, "What should I do?" And it's like, yes, you should do something. I should just tell you, and you will do
Exactly.
it.
What a role,
It's
right?
like, vicious.
I'll ask the young green dragon for advice. This is great. In the settling of that role, though, there is an action that I will guide my faction, which is no longer a Claw of Malar, but an entire Staghead to take, and it is important that a balance is instituted between civilization and nature. And there is something that the vicious
viciously inclined can do here in the Emerald Enclave. And it's that the citizenry of Naflek has looked into this whole aspect of big game hunting, but they're gonna need some help and guidance in that effect. Animals have grown vastly overpowerful, savagery, brutality, and Naflek is going to need some guidance in how to do big game hunting and handling and surviving the new wilderness out there. This will also help to set Naflek on the proper path of their relationship with nature. Not so much me taking like action with mechanical rules so much as a one step in the Emerald Enclave program now is to foster development so that the civilization can survive against the very vicious nature that's out there now, ready to test them.
All right. Help them with the first steps until they can stand.
Yeah.
All right. How
Show
generous
them
and
how to be
magnanimous.
vicious. Exactly.
Hmm.
See? Ballots. Wink.
Beyond that, I suppose I will get to this part now, since since we sort of alluded to it before we even started. Because you're beginning to feel the distant tug upon your souls. That means that Yaffle is growing older. It's been a long time, like many years since, it's been decades since the last great slumber. And as far as you remember, Yaffle is human. This means that the cursed Yaffle has now made it to be older than really she has ever made it in a reincarnation. Meaning that somewhere she's around and nearing middle age. Allegedly, she's cursed to die young, ensuring a rapid increase in power due to multiple reincarnations happening. This must mean that her current form is quite powerful indeed, so that it can fight off whatever terrible things might be happening to her, attempting to kill her. Still, it also means that eventually those things might get bad enough that they take her out, which would, of course, instantly knock you all out for, well, probably longer than last time. And last time, it was about a decade. Who knows how much the world might change in 20 years or so. But at this point, these slumbers are getting so long and sort of so dangerous that it might be problematic to simply sleep it out. Now, what sort of things could possibly be done? The sleeps happen, they drain your essence, they drain you get lethargic, and you sort of just lump around, staying alive for a long time. But perhaps on the dragon's minds is, I wish I could change that. I wish there was something I could do. And it would be Valignant who has an idea, because he's the only one who has the means to at least attempt something. One of his allies, or perhaps one of his subordinates, more correctly said, Yenka, the Thayan rebel, has been working on rituals authorized by him to study dragon essence and the transferring of such. It is perhaps in one of these progress meetings that she will to him speak that it appears possible to transfer essence from one dragon to another, as well as from dragons and into other beings. Though the power of such a transference is limited by the vessel's ability to hold it, she believes that she could perform a ritual, given a little bit more time to research it, that might allow her, through Valignith, to gain sort of a state of a half-dragon existence. This would be a way to prolong her life, almost indefinitely, without undeath, and maybe to Valignith's desire, she would also be draconic, if it was magically induced. Beyond that, though, the idea that perhaps essence could be learned how to be transferred from one dragon to another, the debt to Yaffle, the debt to Yaffle's soul, might be temporarily paid off by some other dragon, rather than the dragons themselves. If, when the big sleep begins to draw, someone else was hooked up to relic, let's say, he might be able to starve off his lethargy with their life. He would need a dragon, of course, a captive one that could be drawn upon at the right time. Or perhaps it is simply too insidious to consider. Better to simply sleep out the ritual. But the thought might strike his mind.
Don't think it would stick in his mind for long, though. His anger at Yaffle is not. It's not necessarily due to what is being done to him personally, but the fact that she had the audacity to do it to, like, dragonkind in the first place, and to just sort of pass the problem along to another dragon doesn't really solve the problem. It gives himself more time, but
It gives himself more time. It's something Tiamat would do. Tiamat wouldn't be like, "Oh, I'll spare all of the other dragons." If Tiamat had the opportunity to be spared this page, he absolutely would.
it's true. It's, let's say he's conflicted to. Yeah, he's conflicted. I think he would share it with both Cicatrix and Emmy, though. The possibility, if they want to do it, sure. You know, he's not one to control other dragons. He just controls himself.
How would he share it?
Probably mention it via the sending stones. Like, make sure that they're not being listened to by requesting that they're not being listened to, and then explaining that he may have a way to do this and that, basically.
Yes, you'd all begin to feel the sense of trepidation, right, as Yaffle's curse begins to amp up.
You have a way? You have a way? You found one?
It's temporary. It requires a lot of effort to capture a most likely unwilling other dragon of sufficient strength. Not an impossible task, or even difficult. It's not permanent. It could buy us a few years.
In these early users, it sounds that it would just be for one of us then, unless we found, say, 3 separate dragons.
Or perhaps one dragon powerful enough to work for all of us.
Imisrae user starts laughing and says, "Yeah, this will be good. If you can spare your servant, Thayan, at a time, not now. I'll handle the other dragon part."
You will handle that alone?
She says, "For me, yes. I don't think the one dragon will be good for all 3 of us. But I'll absolutely partake in it for myself. This is worth the effort."
Very well, I'm not surprised.
She says, "Unless she sort of like blinks, like, "I know you two have talked about this Severius before."
That was my idle thought, yes. But I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
If there would be a concern, it would be that we would attempt it, fail, and then the curse of lethargy would hit us, leaving us mostly powerless to resist a retaliation.
It's a lot of risk involved, no matter how you turn the problem.
I'm so glad you let us know this, Malignant. I'm glad your pet Thayan exiles are working hard on this.
They've been surprisingly useful and easy to keep, to be quite honest.
Hmm.
Of course,
Right.
I'm only sharing this because I'm expecting to be told about similarly important possible ventures for our common problem.
Of course, of course. Be seeing ya. I think she like mysteriously leaves the stone behind.
Well, I appreciate you sharing this. I think Severus might be a good target, but well, I suppose that would be something we would have to plan for as well.
We would, and we would need all of us. I'm not seeing Emmy agree to an attack on him when she has already apparently solved the issue of finding another dragon.
Out of character, she would like help with Severus. It's just the concern is like that I would have as a player is we try it doesn't work completely, or it fails, and then the curse of lethargy hits us.
Yeah. I'm
It's going to be
also
really hard to resist Severus when we're in torpor.
I'm conflicted about the idea. My mood today is conflicted.
Okay.
I'm conflicted about the idea because, on the one hand, Vesicadrix wants him dead. Like you, Ari, want him dead. I absolutely want to fight him eventually. So that's pro that move. On the other hand, he is planning to make noise with Cormia. Like he wants to cause a bit of conflict and chaos there, and I'm absolutely for that because it keeps Cormia off our backs for a while and maybe even does some damage. And I'm all for that. So I would rather not kill him before that happens, but I can swing either way.
All right. Something to consider at least.
Yeah, I mean it's something to think about. I think is we have talked about trading other people for it, but I don't know that we knew that this exact thing could be an opportunity.
The book is useful.
It would
The
be nice to be able
adventurers
to
are
do this
powerful.
without having to go to hell and be like, yo, would you take this thing instead? Hey.
Yeah, the Book of Dragons is it's a very powerful artifact of knowledge. Written by an absolutely insane person, but also a lot of things. Whatever this ritual you're part of is, it was probably involved in the creation of it.
Yeah, I figured that as soon as you started talking about transferring draconic essence, I was like, well, source material. If Yaffle had like footnotes, this one would be in it.
Now, there's an open secret spreading across the land. You all have high enough influence to hear rumors and news and such going on. Investigated Seer and Elversalt cities. And it seems like the newest bit of gossip, or rather the warnings being brought by people to rulers everywhere, is that the Thayans have aligned with a red dragon. And that the red dragon, through them, is being manipulated to begin acting against Cormir. There's some sort of conspiracy. They're working together. To some, they might dismiss it as a rumor. But it is actually surprisingly accepted as a bit of truth around the Dragon Coast. Why? Well, there's perhaps multiple reasons. It seems like it comes from some credible but unidentifiable source. It also seems to have a gram of truth. You consider the Red Wizards of Thay in league with the Red Dragon Malignith, all their actions just begin to make sense. Of course, they would burn down Seer only to have it placed upon their other allies, the Church of Bane. Of course, they would visit each other and constantly move about. Of course, the Red Wizards would ask about dragons. It just sort of makes sense. It also brings more eyes against the Red Wizard to look at him and begin judging them for what it's done. Beyond that, eyes are looking at the Dragon Fane to think that this is another outpost of the Red Wizards. Perhaps another one of their schemes, somewhat discrediting the dragon.
What if this red dragon were actually complicated and he keeps lying about being simple?
If there's one thing that Malignant hates, it's that he, the most straightforward creature in this entire universe, is accused of being straightforward for the purpose of being facetious. What's the word? Facetious?
Facetious.
Facetious. Yes, the word I can't pronounce probably.
It's all a
Complicated.
trick.
Yeah, it's a
tricky.
facade.
Sneaky dragon.
Yeah, he's actually a copper dragon. He's extra. You know, Office Derelicts never died.
Oh no!
It's all a big prank. There is no Red Dragon.
Well, as we all know, the truth has to come out somehow, and there's one way at which the truth can.
Oh. Sounds like a compel.
I mean, what exactly are you compelling?
That's why I didn't even phrase it as like a direct compulsion.
Yeah.
I do want to smash something. Just tell me what.
That's why it was more like a teasing thing.
Yeah. Well, this is a big lie, right? But this is not actually cooperating with what it was saying.
You see.
Yeah, I mean, at least to my knowledge, which surprisingly I didn't know.
Speaking of metagame wise,
that's how deep it goes.
Like, I suppose you'd probably like send folks to investigate who might be responsible for it. I thought it might be Sevrius who's trying to fuck with you.
That too. I was like, oh yes, he wants Malignant to take off some of Cormier's attention.
I think this rumor might be so outrageous that Malignant immediately discards and forgets about it. That's ridiculous. Moving on.
With the other dragons, what would the other dragons think when they hear it? Apparently, I mean, it's a 9 out of 10, solidly purveyed rumor. There's decent evidence here. Of course, that can't be true, right? That's not the reason he burned down Red and Seer. That would be really somehow a really complicated and very long scheme.
Yeah. I believe the initial thought is, wow, Malignus pulled off a really clever scheme here. And there's several seconds of hesitation. And wait a second. Malignus would never do this.
Vesicka has another take. Her immediate thought is oh no, they found out that he has Thayan rebels. Yes, Vesicka is working together with Thayan. You're right. She is immediately oh god, no, and is relieved when she finds out that they think it's the Thayans in Westgate. And then she will start pondering who could have started the rumor, and I mean, but there's that oh no.
I do love the initial for Second Twix, it's horror turned into a relief, and for my character it's pleasantly surprised, which becomes baffled.
Yes, it's just no, wait, no.
Yeah, if you want to know more, you could gather information. See faction action.
I think Imisrae Legion will take no action on that part. She assumes willingness on the case because he hates lies.
I mean, I really think that this is so outrageous that
Absolutely, sure.
what would anyone gain from spreading that rumor?
Yeah. I mean, it appears now to be an established truth for many of the factions around here, who will act as if it is true. Yeah, it's a warning. It's a warning saying there is a grave threat to the realms. You know, the Red Wizards have allied with the cult of Tiamat and the Red Dragon. So beware. Together they will.
Which, I mean,
They
historically.
love the same color, and that's, you know, it binds them together.
Yes.
Vanity.
Should have seen it coming. The red robes. God damn it! How did we see it?
Red Dragon Wizard. It just makes sense, and their
It
actions.
was in front of us this entire time.
It goes far back, and it's really rather irrefutable. So.
The Red Dragon Wizard of Fake. Can I retrain my character, Manikai?
It'd be some shit of the adventurers with access to all their secret intel somehow managed to cobble this together. No?
That is probably the direction it's from. They tend to draw outrageous conclusions and then declare them to people in power. Vehemently. That's it. There's a lot of adventurers. You know, sounds like the realm needs heroes to stand against this red dragon and his allies. To uncover the secret truths so they can find
The Harper's return.
Oh God, no! We've thrown them out like twice.
Harpers, they disappeared by themselves. They dug
They
too
did.
deep and too
Yeah.
greedily and were gone.
Yeah,
one
they
day.
just left like this. We're going
I don't
somewhere
think any
else.
of you
Oh yeah, that's true.
know
That's
what
too
happened to
messy.
them.
Yeah,
Something
the problem
did.
with Harper's is that
Someone
they can
did.
keep coming back.
They're around elsewhere in the realms, but it's a busy time to be a harper.
Like, yeah, a lot happening right now in
I
Fair.
spent a lot of time in the Sword Coast. So mostly where they...
Yeah.
All right. There is a visit to Imisrae. Doesn't have to be early in the year, but it might as well be.
Yeah.
From Veyros Fireshield.
Yeah. That stands to reason. There was probably going to be an interaction at some point. we just went our separate ways after the meeting and never spoke since. Yeah, she hasn't spoken with him in like a year or so.
Yeah.
It's been a bit.
There's been things happening.
She's been busy.
Yeah.
She receives him, probably goes up to greet him. Doesn't like, the backdrop of the High Temple and the Tower of Light will be there, but she doesn't assume that he wants to get close to that. She won't make him. He is also older and more powerful.
You've made quite a bit of change in the last year. You've worked quickly.
It is my understanding you felt as I did, that the Enclave was too slow to act.
He nods. Yes. And I have been busy myself, though mostly ensuring that what remained of Sindamood's influence on the region has been stamped out. We should not be bothered by them again. At least, unless she comes here personally. I have been unable to figure out where she might have gone after entering the Shadowfell. I suppose it's possible she simply stayed there. I doubt she will forever, though. She is very, very driven, and will eventually turn back up.
She was consumed by hatred and vengeance before the meeting. I cannot imagine it is any different.
He nods. And he, it's a somber nod. He held out some hope for her.
Yeah.
She just nods. And then he sort of lights up a little and says, I hoped and I tried to delay the meeting further, or to at least not have things escalate like they did. Perhaps it was inevitable. But he sort of looks at me. I have found him after years of searching. Found clues, yes, but solved the riddles. I walked the paths, and I think I know where to find him.
She says, after like a hesitation, "Congratulations, then. Is my understanding that protection is required in these strange times."
Yes. I'm planning to leave, to go to him and to see what guidance I might offer. Perhaps one day, when strong enough, I might return. Perhaps then things can sort of... This is like a vague gesture around, not just to the forest, but sort of meaning the world can have some semblance of normality again. A balance restored. So I've heard you say.
She says, "You would know better. You have known the world as it was before."
If there's anything you need, I will be to the south. I will make sure that there's someone around here who will find me, even as I move around a lot. I hope, however, that things will be more quiet, or at least that the Enclave will be more able to handle things without me for a time. Taken as many steps as I could in that direction.
Such is my intent, that the Enclave can become self-sufficient and active. I will goad them along.
And he's sort of looking at Imisrae. He senses that something has, even if it's minor at this point, changed, right? There's a determination there, a reaffirmed determination.
There's a discomfort. It's uncomfortable to be under like this, this like weighted stare.
You know, the gold dragons, they say, do have the ability to see both backwards and forwards in time when they look at something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Perhaps
this
is
see
not the
what
first
she
time
could
she's been
become. Yeah.
Yeah. She remembers the stare back when she got the ritual book. Didn't feel good then.
Well, not. So, I really do mean it, though. If you need, you know what I can do. You know what I've accomplished before. If my power is needed here. I think I should like to know.
There's a hesitation. She says, "Of course. I will make it so that if you are needed, you are made well aware. We have done..." She like hesitates, like says, "Good work in what we have accomplished together."
Nods and almost like moves slightly uncomfortably because, you know, what he knows also is I fear that terrible times are to come. To some degree for both of us. He sort of looks at him and says, "I think more for you."
She says, "Well, for the sake of those terrible times, I wish them luck, for I have been a survivor all of my life, and that shows no signs of changing."
You know, it's that you have adaptable, and you have made more with what you have had than, well, than any other of your kind I know of. Most of our kind never get this far.
Uncomfortable again.
If there is someone who is fit for the times ahead to stay here and to perhaps lead the Enclave, perhaps it is right that it is someone like
you. She then adds quickly, "For now at least. I don't want to do this forever. Please."
I understand the feeling. I at times miss my home, but perhaps when I return there will be someone else. I look into distant possibilities as I act. And I'm hoping that in a draconically short time, I might be able to turn some of these things around. He'll not to himself. He is certainly determined as well. What needs to be done.
Yeah. He says, "Then I look forward to that time, when it does come."
Not so. I made some promises to Anglesbach. Try not to. Just the colonies. I have. They should be left alone.
She says, "Good to know. I had thought as much. I will ensure the Enclave does so, though if Anglespark does instigate anything,
So
I could not have
him.
the..." She stops talking and just bobs her head.
He was polite, but I did not challenge him on needlessly. He's a cunning creature. I will see you when I return.
She says, "Farewell."
And then we sort of walk into the forest. Presumably to go for a tree or something and turn into a dragon form somewhere else.
Like she stands there for like a few minutes, and there's like a mixture. It's mostly relief that she feels like, oh man, things are like is having him loom over you.
Yeah.
All right, phew. And go back to a regularly scheduled programming of doing whatever the fuck we want, or at least pretending to do whatever the fuck we want, while secretly being afraid that we never will be able to.
Parents aren't home.
Yes, Cindermoon's gone and the shadow fell. The Elder Gold Dragon is off to the south with trying to find the Chosen of Sylvanas and advise them. We're good.
Things are happening. Look
Yeah.
at that. Calming down a bit. Fine.
Yeah. Party at my forest.
This forest has been a lot of politics going on for a while.
Yeah.
All right. Beyond that bit of information, Velikneth will have a perhaps an unexpected visitor. Is he spending most of his time here at the Dragon Fane?
I think at this point he would actually spend a significant amount of time preparing to move his lair to the Mithril Isle.
How does he prepare for that?
He'd probably be there a lot, honestly. Just, sniffing around, planning, trying to probably like digging out the chambers and stuff. He's definitely gonna offload a lot of work on like some unsuspecting dwarfs, but the first few digs will be done by himself for sure. He'll be available at the Dragon Fane, but not like 90%, more like 50% of the time.
Sure. It is perhaps one of these times where he is here then. That you'll be informed that the various sort of rituals of alarm and warning he implemented a while back near the bottom of the fane have been alerted that there's been an intrusion.
Okay, by what? When? How? Why?
Right now, they don't know by what, and seemingly through the earth, through the rock.
Wonderful. If it's right now, then Billing is gonna go there immediately.
Sure, it's in one of the lower chambers, probably not too far away from his hoard, but certainly not a place that is sort of consecrated to Tiamat directly, like not a shrine room or anything. He has lots of space in this place, certainly nothing there. Remote, probably something that's used for extra storage space, or perhaps a supply room in case if the thing gets like besieged. But perhaps it is worrying that a place to be for a meeting like this has been chosen so carefully as to not be any of the other locations it could have been. Yeah, perhaps that is a worrying thing, as it means whoever chose it has a pretty good idea of the layout of this place. Standing in the supply room as Malignith comes in here, so you figure he has seen once before.
Two.
The figure is tall, gray, and emaciated, as if somehow stone could be alive and then die. Its power is immense. It feels divine, unapproachable, unimpeccable, but also now to Malignant, in his current state, brittle and fake. It is light, but it is not bright. It is grey. It is an imitation. The being, the king of death, stands here as he awaits Malignant's arrival.
Wonderful. Upon spotting the figure, just have to contemplate whether he simply attacks and skips the pleasantries, but there's his curiosity, so he'll probably, have a bit of an expression as he does on his token picture, and not say anything, but allow the figure to, make the first move.
Watches for a moment of speaking. I could have at any time entered anything in the mountains. I can see what happens here, and I can hear what happens here. Yet, I am careful. I think in many ways we're not so different. I've observed you. Perhaps were you fire giant rather than a worm as you are, you might even have been an ally. You rebel against your own kind. You rebel against fate and the way things are. You see a world you wish was different. At first I thought you naive. Thought perhaps you could not do what you set out to do. I thought perhaps something else would kill you in my place. Thought I could use you to finish off the Drake, to have you destroy everything they ever built. And yet it seems that destruction has been tempered. Their chair still stands atop the mountain, untoppled, keeping me within the bounds of the rocks. Yet I have not come to congratulate you, nor have I come to attempt to kill you. Perhaps I could, but the ramifications of such a thing are on. No, I've come to threaten you. Threaten you into doing my bidding. You see, I have a power against which, I understand, you are powerless. I know what you have in this place. I know who you have in this place. And I know what I and who I have in my place. The Red Wizards wish to know about you. They wish to know about the ritual as well. I have that knowledge. In fact, I have seen it with my own eyes. I have touched it, though much of it is outside my reach given the infernal influence of the place. I have benefited from the knowledge I've gained about it. It would be simple for me to release the wizard, the lich, the immortal humanoid I have kept, just as I think it would be trivial for me to release the one you have kept. This would be bad for you. You went through quite a lot to imprison them. Yet all I require is the end of the hierarchy. To finally see them toppled, to see their king thrown down, his bones to kneel for me. I could demand you deliver the papers, the elven research, which might allow me to further manipulate the ritual that binds you, but I will not even do so. I do not wish to threaten you directly, not your life, for I don't care about that. What I want is my own liberation, the freedom to move and act, and enact my plans upon the world. And yet, the chair is in my way, and when I send someone to fix it, to topple it, you have stood in its place. The transaction is simple. We destroy it, and do not attempt to make more. And I will give you years of peace. Years where I will not interfere with you. Where I will allow you to live as if I didn't exist. After that, well, I suppose it will be up to you then.
Ringneff observes the entity for a moment longer before tilting his head slightly. He says, "Are you done? Any more threats? Any more words? Any more offers?"
Oh, perhaps. But I would be speaking with Hell's tongue then. I am aware they are looking for anyone who might seek to destroy you, offering an increasing sum for any such favor. You have more enemies already than you know. You do not need more.
I see before me a powerful entity that is far past its expiration date, its reign of power. You come here not to threaten to kill me, but you threaten me with knowledge, with words, with vague, indirect consequences of things you could do that you could do at any time but haven't for reasons. You know what my answer is? Do it. All the threats you just told me about, do it. What are you waiting for? Do you think that I care about the consequences more than I care about you forcing me to do something I don't want to do? Let's find out, shall we? What do you think is going to happen once Faye finds out about the valley, about me, about the Fane and all that? Once this powerful necromancers of Faye are going to find out about you, do you think they'll ally with you, or do you think they'll use their powers for, well, who knows? I'm sure you too could be bound. And besides, you need me. You draw your power from the ritual that I'm involved in. What do you think is going to happen to that ritual if I no longer exist? If the ritual stops being relevant due to lack of ingredients. I don't think you threaten these things because I'm the more convenient solution. I think you threaten me with these things because, quite frankly, you don't have that many options. You're stuck to this valley. You need that throne gone. Faye isn't going to do it for you. Nobody's going to do it for you except I. And you have power over me, it's true. But my answer remains. Do it. I dare you.
The stone giant watches Veligna, expressionless as only dead stone can be. Yet it is as if he detects a slight twitch of an eyebrow that doesn't exist. Perhaps I've gone about you wrong. It is true. It is rare that there is something or someone I will not simply kill. And yet you could prove useful to me. Once I offered you this in a different guise, a shadow when you most needed it, and you denied an offer. You did not want help. Nor are you afraid of your own destruction, as long as I perish as well. I am not used to the irrationality, the fervent passion of the young and the living. And yet, you understand that you give me the singular purpose of making your life difficult enough that you simply choose to follow my suggestions. Break the throne. Earn peace from me. Even if I will not kill you, I might destroy what you have built, kill your subordinates, wreak havoc upon all of them. Oh, you could leave these mountains, perhaps, but in that case you cannot stop me from destroying it myself. I still have some servants willing to act. What do you want, then? To live on, to allow me to do the same, to win my freedom from this pointless punishment, the judgment of a dead king? Surely, for old time's sake, when I was strong, gave you aid, you needed it. Just now, we might repair this trade relationship.
You know, there is a thing that you could do that would satisfy me. But you just said something that signifies that the two of us are simply not compatible. You say, I could earn peace with you. I've understood that peace is not earned, peace is taken. If you decided to stop messing with the ritual I'm involved in up until the point that I'm no longer involved with it, I could consider not going after you. But if you keep your current course of being so impatient that you, an immortal undead being with practically no concept of time, pushing so hard to break free, I don't think there can ever be a cooperation between us. So, I expected you to do your worst for years at this point. I'm disappointed that it wasn't. You haven't even started yet. There's an alternative in this. What if you helped me accomplish my goal? And once I am free from this ritual, I'll make sure that those who have helped me will not be forgotten. If you've heard everything that ever went on in the mountains, then I'm sure you know that I put much value in my word.
He watches from the cliff. Sunken, stony eyes, just gazing upon him. In partly, perhaps, in astonishment at the audacity that you offer. I will be freed. I am merely offering you a chance to do so without the amount of pain you would otherwise receive.
And how nice that is of you. I'm sure there's nothing else behind that intent to offer me this chance. You wouldn't do it unless you needed me.
Sam, I need perhaps you, but not everything else.
I think we're done here.
I think so. It would appear I will have to make life difficult. It could have been different. Oh, it could have been different.
Do I look like I want an easy life?
Just mere sighs. Perhaps we are nothing alike. Would have taken my goals as easily as possible. Oh well. In time. You will understand when you grow older. Sometimes a victory is worth it. As he speaks, he will begin to sink into the ground as if it was water, just sort of moving through it, melting into it. So he disappears.
Well, you know, it's moments like this that make life enjoyable for Willie. He annoyed the shit out of a creature much more powerful than him and got away with it. And every time he gets to do that, that's a win.
I don't think disrespecting authority figures is an admirable trait in hell.
Not one you get to do. You'll be an imp in no time.
So, with that, I'm not sure that translates into faction actions, but perhaps just the intent is worthwhile enough for you, Malachi. Valignath wants to speed up this whole moving towards his new Earth mode thing
Yeah.
quite significantly.
All right.
And at the same time, see if he can get more of the Dragon Fane consecrated. Make it a bigger, like, divine anchor, so to speak. If this thing is, like, possessing fake divine power, then I'm sure it would be bothered by the presence of an opposing divine power. And bothering that guy is priority number one right now.
Well, the way to do that is to do more big sacrifices. I mean, big gestures of sacrifice, really. Even if that is gore on an altar, right? Tiamat appreciates hordes. She appreciates killing anything. She's very vain in that regard, right? So anything grand that is done certainly pleases her. Beyond that, more worshippers is also a way to grant the place more power. Such. As for moving his horde, he certainly can. I mean, really, the isle out there, his moat, is it's fairly safe, right? I mean, it's not like there's a lot of creatures that can really go there. Now, he doesn't have a lot of guards who can be there either. Like, yes, a couple dwarves can sort of fly out there and sort of hang out. But mostly his defenses there are static right now, right?
Yeah.
But he could
Yeah,
certainly...
I would like to talk to those Harpy tribes, but not this session. Like I'm barely functioning as it is.
Sure.
I've learned that whenever I contact a new faction of a sort and I'm not up to snuff, things happen and I regret them later.
I like to think it was the Harpies like really wanting to like maybe like have a chat with like this red dragon and sees like the speed and like force with which it's traveling like around the Mithril Island and then away, and they think, seems angry, maybe not.
Yeah, next session, if we did it now, we would have a goal. So I figure we might as well get this goal on the table. Just finish exterminating the Harpies.
A Harpyless region. They will only tell tales of these Harpies moving forward.
Older structures will be toppled. Broken. All right. Yeah, sure. That's a reaction. Yeah. That said, he certainly manages to anger a powerful being, which might have consequences.
No.
Never happened.
It's possible.
I mean, it's not like the dude wasn't angry at us to begin. Like, I mean, now he's maybe...
It's it just wants its freedom. Why can't you respect that?
Just let him out.
Don't you want to be free?
I want the thing is... power back that it's been stealing from the ritual, thank you very much. Then we can talk about it.
The thing is that Valignov has nothing against that thing wanting to be free or that thing wanting to, like, build an undead kingdom on the surface.
Just telling Valignov what to do.
Yeah. Its mistake was messing with Valignov. Like, if he hadn't done that, then sure, cooperate, sure. I would have totally done that.
Now it's personal.
Yes.
False visions, unacceptable. I do appreciate Valigna's attitude of like, do it! Release both Thayan Liches. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Why don't you phone him right now while I look at you?
Yeah.
Call my parents.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Yeah. It'll surely discredit those outrageous rumors on working together with them, if nothing else.
Yeah, well, it's true what Valigna says, right? To some degree, this guy doesn't want to kill you.
I would have never dared to make that call, I appreciate Valigna's brash nature. I
mean, it's 100% calculated, because the only creature that Valignov knows that really wants to follow through with its threats is Valignov himself. For everyone else, it's the opposite.
In news for Cicatrix, we'll notice the movement, or people will perhaps. Just probably spend a lot of time on the plains. They say that that there's been fires on the other side of the lake, by the scorched hill. Not blue fires, thankfully, but normal sort of yellow and red and orange flames, burning some of the dried drought grass. It seems like a lot of the land here has gotten dry enough that it easily burns, and fires have been spreading from the hill. Beyond that, they say that they found some of these big big woolly plains rhinos. Rather large, used to be like a centaur hunting challenges and such. They found a couple of them just burned to a crisp and ripped apart, seemingly as if something savage just ripped and tore at them. Many mouths have torn their skin and bodies apart. Yeah. A display of wanton bloodlust. Alongside the terrible burns. Beyond that, they found it as close as like here, south of the lake, which is quite a distance away from the hill. I don't know
Yeah.
directly if it's related, but a couple of your people have disappeared out there. To be found again. They looked into it.
That is troublesome.
So whatever is happening at that hill, fires are spreading out, and it seems that whatever else is there is also spreading out.
I'm glad I moved out before the real estate market crashed.
Location. You know. Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure what to do about this.
Well, at the moment your hand isn't forced in either direction.
Well, I just like it's like so I would the second six would think that it's definitely all from like the Avatar of Nobenon, yeah, like or the
Probably,
influence of
yeah.
such.
You know.
Okay, yeah.
It's not being bothered by Cinnamon constantly, acting to stop it from doing whatever it is doing. Presumably it's doing it.
Maybe that can be the payment you ask from the Shar up north in exchange for helping them against Cormyr. Bring Cindermoon to me!
Back to the region.
Yeah. It was just like what?
No, that would firmly be your problem.
I feel just stay up here where there's no woods.
Beyond that, Rusicatrix and will be informed by her Night Mask allies here, and perhaps Velignith by Sethiston, that they have together been working, and though they haven't got down there, because I mean there's multiple places they could go, they're pretty sure they have begun locating a place where at least a possible place where this these deep old tunnels of Westgate might be. Now, some of them are flooded. Luckily, Sethiston is an aquatic dragon, so that is not really an overly big problem.
Yeah, I mean that's fine.
The vampire is also undead and thus are not super bothered by it. However, this is actually more of a research thing. They have discovered that, well, the Night Masks used to be incredibly wealthy, and certainly incredibly powerful as well. And part of this wealth and power came from somewhere down in the tunnels below the city. Now, the Night Masks used to use an entrance that lie below the Grand Keep of Westgate, which is where the governing body, the noble council, if you will, generally stays, because it's safe from the roving street gangs and trolls and hunting hags and whatever else lives in Westgate. It's thought of as an opulent place, and these days it is also thought of as a place where red wizards come and go, thus making it somewhat awkward to enter, to go into their basement and then begin excavating and looking around down there for any hidden entrances that might lead to the deep tunnels, which would allow them to sort of find this actual tomb. Now, they could, of course, keep looking, just try to find any other random tunnel that might go far enough down, but that will take a while. If access was gained sustainably to this keep in Westgate, they might be able to expedite this quite a bit.
Could you repeat that last bit?
if they could gain access to the ruling, what do we call that, like the seat of rulership of Westgate, the keep, or at least the basement of the keep of Westgate, they might be able to find this tunnel. They know there's a way down into the deep tunnels from there. They don't know where else there might be one. Presumably there's more than one in the city. It would just take a very long time to find because they have no real leads on that. But they know there's one under there. If they could access to that, they could begin exploring them. Until then, though, they're still stuck looking around the surface. Now, the problem with breaking into that place is that the nobles have some power, and certainly that the Red Wizards are sitting on it right now. Not really willing to leave, because they have the council in their pockets. At this point, the council doesn't really have a choice, though. What are you going to do? Say no? You know.
You have the liches in your fucking living rooms. Like, are you gonna say no to them?
Your
Or
honored guests
say...
and friends, you know. They make it profitable for you. It's a sweet sort of enslavement you have.
I mean, speaking of pockets, how much would it be to buy access?
To buy access. Well, you probably have to talk to the Thayans about that, right? They're the ones currently.
Oh no, okay, no.
Yeah, well,
Good thing you have such a
But,
great working relationship
There,
with
there
them.
might indeed be a price that the Thayans would allow someone to lease access to some. They would also be interested in finding these deep tunnels below the city, which they've heard about but haven't really looked deeply into. Perhaps that is where the Yaffle went to do whatever weird things she did.
No, definitely not. No, that's preposterous.
You know, how else could she contact the Aboleth to do it?
Yeah,
You know, it's a possibility. You could buy access from them.
Oh, I'd have to think about it. I'd like to just, unsurprisingly enough, just go back to Westgate with a nice big army and be like, yo, we're taking the palace now.
You could.
I want to.
I mean,
Just
if you
putting that
took
out
it,
there.
you know, even if you didn't destroy Thay, you might
This
have a while to
adamantly
just do
is
it, right?
only in destruction is the truth revealed.
It is.
You level that fucking building, you get your promised passage into the deep
You
dark
will fight
Westgate.
a tunnel.
I want to.
It's just the time.
I mean, I still need time to prepare, and I would not want to initiate anything this session, but I'm gonna take that compulsion because that will be my modus operandi going forward here.
Right. To occupy the ruling keep. Would that be with the intention to take over Westgate, to conquer it, or to gain access for as long as you need it? This is me being curious.
I mean, it depends on how things look at the time.
I suppose that's fair. Yeah.
You know, this year, no. But who knows about next year, right?
If it goes really well, we might stay. Yeah, all right. Perhaps we should veer a little bit away from the Dragon Fane then, and ask the others of you, what do you want to accomplish? So the Emerald Enclave has united, right? There's the claw has been brought in, and what is Imisrae's next move? Perhaps not personally, but with the Enclave. Like, what's the next step for it?
The next step for the Enclave is to build off the words Gildenfire shared at the volatile and tense meeting. And it's that psionics are the natural defense of this world, that they are a direct response to the threat of the far realm. And it is in nature's best interest to locate psionic wielders and, if not bring them to the fold, bring them to the dragon. Preferably willingly. That's going to be a strong emphasis. Kind of need them to come along with the plan.
Find them, bring them to me.
yeah,
I want their
yeah, like
heads.
it was like whatever sort of like expense or like sort of like motivation hook it might take for them. She can't do it herself because it's going to be far-reaching. She might like once she like learns like there might be someone, she might go directly wherever they are, whether it's at the Dragon Coast or abroad. But she needs to know. And so it's to that end that the Emerald Enclave, united as it is to support nature, their task with this newfound influence is to go beyond the Gulf Mirror and find these psionic wielders that could then be used to directly oppose the actions and threats of the Far Realm. Because she can't do it all herself, especially if a curse is coming up.
Yeah, I mean, the problem here is always that the psionics sort of mostly appear near places that have had the heavy damage of the spell plague, and they could be anyone. If you're sort of untrained, it might not be super obvious that you are one.
Yep.
You know, it's hard to find them, basically.
Yep.
When they get powerful, it's usually because they're pressed or forced to in some way.
Takes one to know one, sort of.
So now the druids do have, I mean, plenty of forms to certainly get around. Exploration and travel is not something that's difficult for them. That said, I feel like this is going to be a little bit of a progress clock here. That seems fair.
So one roll engine progress clock. Tell me more about
it. You know. And I feel that each progress is finding like someone, right?
Okay.
There should be, as you say, should be something tangible with every success. And I suppose a full, what is this?
I just wanted to note the amusement to the viewers. The one roll engine with the progress clock. It tickles me.
Well, you could argue how much one roll it is when you have fights taking up like how many rolls to actually kill someone. We're gonna do this size. 4 sizes. That seems fine. It got a little bit thick, but that's gonna be. I hear that that's what people want these days. So
the thick clock.
Yeah. So this is gonna be weird. I have some ideas for what you might find.
Okay.
But let's let's take it step by step and
all right.
Have a roll. I mean, I suppose the first one would be an espionage. I figure it could be gather information, argued, but I think espionage is more appropriate because it really isn't available information, right?
Not a known thing. It's
have to
sure we
can.
Yeah. We gotta learn the secrets. Okay, yeah, we can do that.
It is not against the faction. It is against the static difficulty. Now, the difficulty here will be based on the idea that it is enough people, like you find enough people to have something, right? Like 2 might not do it. Maybe like 5 might do it.
Okay.
Now you have a year to do it here. I think a 5 difficulty. That is pretty difficult, but you're also not looking for just anyone. You're looking for people who can act.
Yeah. Normally this would have been something I would have had the dragon assist in, but she's going to be personally occupied for no particular reason at all, so we'll just throw 7 dice here. We got a pair of 2s and a pair of 1s. That's not 5s.
Yeah, it's not.
I can't even use the adventurer die. Damn it.
Yeah, I think with that, I mean, it's not a success. You don't manage to gather enough people, but I can still give you some flavor for what that means, right? Because you still made some progress. I think what it is here is they learn basically that psionics are more common in certain species or races, particularly the Durgar people, sort of an underground type of dwarf, has has quite a lot of psionic potential. Now, there's different reasons for why this is believed to be the effect. One of them being that the Durgar were dwarves who were enslaved by illithids, and thus they have quite the strong will to resist their racist sort of masters, or their what do you call that? Their tormentors in the illithid, the mind flayers. Now, finding some is perhaps a little bit difficult. They are known to be in the mountains, certainly, the Osra Mountains, perhaps, or at least far below them. Much of the underground of this world is not very known. As psionics are more prevalent where aberrant creatures are more prevalent, it also suggests that the Underdark might be a good place to go, though the difficulty here might also be it's hard to get there. As for people, perhaps, there is some success here. It's just not enough to fill a clock slot. She does find some who agree to join, but they're not people of great skill.
Right, they might be heroic tier people.
Yeah, like they might be like a second level scion, right? Can kick some butt if you're fighting like some bandits or a pack of wolves or, a tribe of goblins or something, but could not fight a thing that Imisrae needs them to do.
Yeah.
Of
course.
A couple people who can sort of feel emotions for some sort of empathy or read a mind by touching someone's hand or something, right? These sort of minor talents as well that not only would earn their money just doing this as a thing without really developing it any further. Who long term might have some potential to learn something and grow, but it's also hard to convince them that they should fight some sort of horrible mythos creature. It's to people who are not already motivated, it's a hard sell.
Sure. Okay. I think that's good information, and she's probably going to end up directing them into the Underdark or to Westgate in search of these Duragar people. She's heard about these underground dwarves before, yeah. And if there's a lot of aberrant shit happening in Westgate, there might be some folks who want out of that city.
Probably heard this from also some of her drow minions.
Yep.
Who now find themselves to be druids, sort of.
Yeah. Like, you want to stick to like the one attempt per year on this amalgamate clock we've made?
I think you can do more if you want, as long as we can sort of reasonably make sense of it.
Sure. I think sort of like with Duragar in mind, Westgate is like the city collection of like everyone and everything. I think if it's there, that like that's gotta be easier. Again, Imisrae Legions are thinking of like path of least resistance. If there's horrible like psionic stuff happening there, that's cropping up in Westgate, then there's gotta be some psionic people there. These Duragar. So she ushers the Emerald Enclave and plants them at Westgate. And the direction is to find them and bring them here. Using any means, you might have to purchase them from someone. You might have to beat up some people to take them. Again, preferably willingly, but you're there to find them and bring them to me.
This is the kind of job that once upon a time you were asked the Black Network to help with.
Yep.
Let me buy some people.
Yeah. But I am the quasi-Black Network now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I don't know where that falls in for like my roles.
I think you're still doing some espionage. You're going in there. You're getting
Got it.
Out, like influencing people to do what you want.
Yeah, that makes sense. 6 dice. Pair of 7s and a pair of 2s.
Yes, which means that from Westgate you will have the response that you were hoping for, right? At some point, power speaks a lot to people in Westgate, and it's not like the Duragar population there is doing it's having a great time. They're pretty much doing as anyone else is, but anything on the surface hurts their eyes somewhat. Just
the constant rains are flooding them out.
Yeah, it's not hard to argue that something else should be done, and there are amongst them psionics. Now, the Durgar psionics tend to be, at least have been trained from below, as almost like to function as sort of a secret police. They're good at being stealthy. They're good at forming knives out of thought and stabbing them into people's psyche, almost.
Yeah.
It's a little weird when talk about like that, but they do have a strength in it, and perhaps some of them might be convinced to give this a shot. Now, fighting things from like terrible, horrible monsters is probably not something Westgate Durgar would do altruistically.
Of course not.
But the Emerald Enclave is quite the sizable gang, and if you're going to be part of one, you kind of want to be part of the winning one.
Absolutely. And mind and thought police, not something the dragon opposes. As it turns out, the dragon's alignment is dragon,
Mm-hmm.
which transcends good and evil.
Yeah. There will be some Durgar, like Soul Knife.
Okay.
That's
All right. I think what I'll do next is the Emerald Enclave is going to come out to police the Gulfmere Forest. There is a lot that might be going on in this region that we need to know about. The forest is vast, and so it's important to keep an eye on, like, say, the influence of Shar, or whether any spellfire is cropping up, or just anything else in general. You also give an opportunity to work together. That's Might and Sovereignty, 7 dice. And the dragon will participate in this because, there's a green dragon that's sort of like within the forest that she'd like know more about.
Mm-hmm.
Keep an eye on for no particular reason.
Sudden
So we've got double 9s and double 8s.
All right, that's pretty good policing. Nine and 8.
Great.
Yeah, so someone would have to roll like 10, 10, 9, 9 or something to be hidden, and whatever they want to do to succeed, right? To be hidden from this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can probably tell you that that currently a lot is happening. Everyone's sort of tired.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Particularly, very little is happening with the cult of Talona. They are weirdly quiet, almost holding their breath to see if anyone protests them being here still. They're not exactly sure where they stand after sort of attempting this whole drink from the mean fountain thing, but sort of passing out, and they didn't really get to overhear the whole conversation of what happened. And they're a bit left out, but also they would like more influence here, so they're sort of on standby, right? For now,
Right.
anticipating some sort of opening or some place where they might be useful, and thereby further get in. So far, no one has a problem with about being someone who wants to make all your friends very, very sick. You don't have a lot of friends.
Yeah.
It's not a popular
No.
ideology, sort of.
I get you. So the influence of the shadow druids and like what they've been doing to the forest, Veros mentioned like that being diminished. Is that so within like the Western Gulfmere Forest?
Yes, I have moved the Shadow Druid token south because that is pretty much what they've done. Following this, one of the things that happened when their leader ostensibly left them was that they were leaderless to a big degree. That, and they're sort of being shunned by a lot of the other druids here for they basically lost the debate, right? Has led many of them to retreat into the mountains, into various caves and such there. They're still around, but of course they're not a faction. They don't have any actions by themselves. Ostensibly they're still part of the Enclave, but they've sort of almost self-imposed exile.
Right, much as Cindermoon herself did.
Yeah, they their philosophy has taken a clear blow, right? And with the big gold dragon flying around doing things, it doesn't really allow you to build a lot of Shah shrines or whatever else you might try to do in the forest.
Yeah.
You sort of have to go elsewhere to practice your shadow faith.
Yeah.
The gold dragon is not very tolerant.
I get you. I get you.
Like he's angry at Char. Yeah.
All right. I think that's all I would have the Enclave do this year. They do need an opportunity to catch their breath and reassess the situation.
Yeah.
And get it lockstep. I don't think she's got to fuss over them anymore. Just, baby steps, gently. Need to show that we're all together to protect nature. Wink.
Yeah. Celestina needs to keep up.
Yep.
What about herself? What's her? Does she have any?
So
what's she doing
I had entertained like flights of fancy of her getting distracted by, say, those sphinxes and maybe roping in the other dragons. But I think the pressure of the Curse of Lethargy is too much for her when Velignith has informed her that there is a means by which she could temporarily escape it. There is another dragon that she knows of in this forest, of which she actually did not care about or really consider in any meaningful capacity. Just was irrelevant to her, did not want to meet the dragon, just so long as the dragon stayed away from her territory, which is kind of vast these days, but, whatever. Imisrae leader here being who she is, just can't be asked to care. There's just so much to care about. And she's not lazy, just directed. But the possibility of subduing another dragon and then giving her the luxury of who knows how much time will pass after, this next curse hits, because the last time was a decade, is like a firm motivator of, I need to find this dragon and I need to beat it down. So I think that's the mindset. I will find this dragon and I will beat it down.
Sure. The dragon here in Ivoriel has made his life just sort of going under the radar. Not really associated with a lot of people. Lives in the Gulfmere, because the Gulfmere is tends to be a good place for green dragons to be. It's wilderness, it's vast, there's lots of good layering spots, lots of food. Beyond that, there's the occasional people you can torment and talk to and play around with. I mean, there used to be an even bigger population here before the spell. That said, it's also a dragon that is actually sort of about the same age as Imisrae.
I was going to ask whether the dragon was adult, or because if it turns out to somehow be an elder green dragon that Anglospark somehow wanted.
No, it is. I mean, it is not lethargic, right?
Yeah,
but it is a green dragon about the same age. I mean, give or take a little bit. Probably give it up. But that has lived a life as a green dragon might want to. Lots of leisure, lots of hunting, being around, and having the power mostly of slowly becoming older. While Imisrae is the polar opposite of that. As she finds the dragon, perhaps lounging on a massive sort of a collection of logs or something over the edge of the river here, just enjoying a fresh deer it has hunted. Seeing her and sort of scurrying away to try to hide, as it tends to do with most people, it really just kind of wants to be left alone.
Yeah.
She sees a dragon as she could have been. Right? Had she not been raised by a devil, brought out here, and basically challenged from day one by all sorts of schemes meant to kill her so that her soul could go to hell, had she not had to claw her way to everything she has, had she not lived by basically a forceful version of Melar's doctrine of struggle makes you stronger, she might have been the same strength as this dragon. At this point, it would seem that the many struggles she's had, the weakness that the ritual gives her, might have made her more powerful than had she simply aged.
Yeah. She would never admit that. she would never bring that up to Malar. She wants the high life of
Yeah.
not having to
Yeah.
care
Um,
and letting her skills slip.
she can corner the dragon. You know, she wants to. How
Yeah.
does she want to approach?
I think like she's not beheld another green dragon before, and I think like her normal like attitude of relaxed and self-assured and happy-go-lucky and patient completely evaporates. Like she's on edge from the idea of having to face another curse, like another period of downtime where anything could happen. She remembers how Novacree summoned Cinder Moon to confront her during the last one, and that was incredibly nerve-wracking. Novacree is still recovering from that incident, though he's doing remarkably well, and he's somehow going to be a part of leadership moving forward. Everyone who might be above him just somehow vanishes or has something bad happen to them. It's inexplicable.
He sends flowers to all the widows. You know, and then they disappear a day later.
Somehow he's going to be a fixture moving forward, and it's enough to impress the Imisrae leader there. But seeing what she could have been, like what she feels has been stolen from her, like the freedom that she will never have, is enough to. I think it's enough to cause her to lose her composure. She becomes enraged upon seeing the Green Dragon, and it's a hunt of her own to put her soul at peace, such as it can be.
All right. The Green Dragon at first moves down to a defensible location and, is about to see what the other dragon wants. Right? Maybe there's a conversation to be had, and then it gets a face full of Imisrae, I suppose.
Normally the concept of like conversation is something she would be all for, but it just what's she gonna do? Say like, so I'm taking your soul and I'm going to be giving it to Yaffle.
Yeah, it's a dragon. It's strong, ostensibly. But I can sort of highlight the problem it has by just using its macros here, right? Oh, look at that. It might almost kind of be close to hitting. And that's the problem, right? It's a powerful creature. It just, like a solo creature, it can fight a lot of things. But it's also level 12. And doesn't have the power of Imisrae. It has hit points and buckets.
Yeah.
You can beat this thing for a while before he actually sort of passes out from the.
Yeah. It would have to be a while. That's much as she did with Ophisterelix, even with the Balliste firing, it just took so much time.
And the poison doesn't work on him.
Right.
But that's really worse for him because he relies on that quite heavily. Breath weapon usage. Breathing
meanwhile,
poison again and again, trying to. Yeah.
Even if the dragon were to deal damage, Imisrae Leaderthir is armed with the tools that she received from Yaffle, the Dragon Slayer weapon and the Dragon Daunt shield. She has protected resistant 5 against all dragon attacks.
I mean, I don't think there's anything he can do to stop the bigger dragon from beating him up. Perhaps what might happen to other dragons fighting bigger dragons. I don't think Imisrae could miss his defenses, and I don't think he could really hit ours outside of a crit. So,
You're right.
I mean, if he lays a claw upon her, right, the damage will be little. I mean, and really that there is all you need to do.
Yeah. It's this is the first time she's gotten to have a draconic confrontation where she's the superior one. This feels really good.
She beats him in every possible aspect.
Yep. I thank you. Armor class of 38 plus an extra 2 when I hit a target. Thank you so much. I'm glad. Beats him, subdues him, renders him unconscious, hauls him back to the Grand Temple of Malar, just firmly lashes him. As it turns out, she knows intimately what a green dragon can do, being a green dragon herself, and imprisons it and prevents it from flying away and escaping.
That might nominally be difficult, but on the other hand, there's lots of druids here who have something, and at some point, you just need to pile a bunch of rocks there.
Yeah.
It's strong, but it's not yet the level of strength that sort of that
Right.
you think of when you think massive, powerful dragon, right?
Right. There's also just, it's an entire there's too many people here.
Yeah.
Like, there's just too much.
Yeah, there will be questions
and I-
as to, what is this about? One thing about this now being the Emerald Enclave is that some people don't have that
Of course.
absolute loyalty. Constantly.
Yeah.
So,
The answer is that I am a dragon, and if you understood how dragons work, this is exactly how dragons work. How do I have to explain dragons to you?
right. People grumble as their sovereign too, I would suggest.
Yep.
But
But of course, if you don't understand dragons, see, what happens is that dragons have territory, that's me, and if we're not paid the proper respect or deference by other dragons, we react. Because that's what dragons do.
which, of course, Niborial will wake up, even if it is imprisoned here, and will ask simply what can be done. He would
Yep.
like to not whatever happened here was very unpleasant, and clearly Imisrae has shown that he's the stronger, and he's hoped to avoid serving Anglespark, but
Mm-hmm.
if he must serve someone, then at least let it be a green dragon.
For as chatty as she is, and as much as my heart goes out to the other dragon personally, I don't think Imisrae Leader is going to provide much in the way of explanation or answers. Could be a rare time she doesn't speak. She will pick up the sending stone, though, and ask for Valigneth, and probably have to wait like a day or so, because he might be away.
He's out there putting all his money in another place.
In the Mithril Vault.
Yeah, she can reach Ligneth eventually.
Valigneth, if it would not be a burden, I would like to send some of my servants to the Fane, or its surrounding environs. You mentioned you had a servant of your own, who is capable of performing a ritual involving draconic essence. I would like to be the first test to see how effective that ritual is.
I understand.
I cannot haul the captive there myself. It's a lot. Which is why I would request if I could bring your minion here to me.
I think that's acceptable.
All right. You are welcome to come yourself if you could spare the time. This will serve as a test. She definitely sounds eager, like the edge of anticipation's in her voice, to see whether this information has been found, how effective it may be.
I think I do want to at least observe, although I will not stay long. Time is precious these days. Have I mentioned that the Death King has visited me recently? I'm sure he's listening at this very moment, in fact.
And he says, "No, I actually haven't heard you mention the undead stone giant for some years now."
I haven't mentioned him, not because he has not been a priority, but because I knew that you didn't care too much.
And she says, "My care only extends to my concern for your well-being. That we've had our conversations about that stone giant and my choice to move away from the mountains and everything else."
Suffice to say that he threatened me with a variety of things, including spilling secrets to people we do not want them spilled to, but it all just revealed that he has very few options to get what he wants, and I'm his best one.
I think at that point, she blinks rapidly a few times and says, "Oh yeah, well, if he were to do that, he would have to combat the notion I have heard that you are working with the Enclave in Westgate."
I forgot about that rumor. It's ridiculous.
She says, my minions were fairly convinced it was accurate and sought to warn me of this truth, knowing my adversarial relationship with you, particularly after what happened in Reddit's here.
I was told about it, I remember that much, but then I just immediately decided to forget about it because it's so ridiculous.
I thought to congratulate you initially, but then I remembered you would not have done such a thing, and so I am baffled as to who might have done so, and how this became widespread.
I see no way in how that can turn out badly for me, so I will once again decide to forget about it.
She says, very well. She says, if you are going to come, then could you arrange for transportation for your servant?
That should not be an issue.
She says, very well. Should this go well, I am willing to arrange it so that if there are, I will assist with other dragons if they are needed for any other curiosity that may be had in that book. Metagame offering that, if she wants a fucking dragon to do this to herself, that Imisrae leader is fully on board if this actually works.
Right.
Then I look forward to your arrival. I will find a suitable room. And then she probably puts down the stone and then goes looking around the 120-meter tall step pyramid, looking through all of her various rooms, which one's gonna be the best one? Not the trophy room, not the feasting room, not my treasury room. Definitely not outside, not at the altar. That's weird. Here's a ritual room. Yeah, we'll use this one.
It's like a druidic style.
Yep. It'll be
Yeah.
well lit, vines and everything.
Yeah, the Thean mage here has the ability to do short-range teleportations, but without aid, it would take a while to get through the plains and stuff. I mean, it's not like there's a lot of roads going to Starmantle these days, and certainly they want to stay away from the north side of the Espoused River here, because anyone there seeing them would maybe trigger the whole reward structure for anyone who would know the difference between a renegade and a loyalist would be richly rewarded for reporting that they saw one. Does Velignith carry them?
Yeah, I mean,
their
he has no confident issues that he couldn't carry someone on his back. He doesn't have a saddle, but deal with it.
I think it will take a couple days upon being informed of this to gather the book and such. There might also be some component costs and whatnot. But mostly, the dragon's gonna be paying for that with its body and life and soul and such. That's the convenient thing about it. The dragon is the reagent.
Dragons as reagents.
Yeah, it's just all that magic is right there and available.
Yeah, have I mentioned that Villingham was conflicted about this? This is exactly what he's angry at Yaffle about.
Griffith is conflicted for morality purposes, but as it turns out, my dragon's alignment is dragon, and wants desperately to be free, and is willing to pay any price to be free. So here I am.
All these dragons, I mean, they're really just big juice boxes at one point.
I mean, Yenka will say that she's amazed at what she's found in this book. It seems like the potential for draconic essence as a source of magical power it's immense, and it has the ability to perhaps even transcend some of the normal limitations on magical spells. I mean, if you have enough dragon power, you can really accomplish something. Normally, magic has to follow the. I mean, it used to have to follow the laws of Mistor. Now Mistor's gone, and everything's chaotic, but this is somehow more ordered.
This is why people
with
collect
several more
us.
years of research, she believes she could really accomplish something with this. Like, maybe even begin to operate some new spells. I mean, she's not a genius at magic, but she's very excited about the potential applications of this sort of spells and this sort of research.
I'm gonna put this as informally as I can. If you continue thinking about sucking dragons for magic, then stop.
Well,
Maybe bring that conversation up with Tiamat.
there was a conversation, of course. Maybe this is the perfect time to mention it for her. About half dragon potential, in order to make her life last a bit longer, so that she may not have to die before this whole thing.
That's fine, but we're not gonna go around stuffing dragons in a bag of holding to do magic later.
Well,
How about a portable hole?
Yeah.
Like everyone.
Yes, it would
What
actually-
I mean,
she suggests it would be more useful if they could somehow be kept alive, so that their magic will continue replenishing over time. That would technically be the better way to do it.
There's a thin line, and rewarding someone with
you have
draconic
to kill
power
her.
is miles different from keeping a dragon chained up to milk it for magic.
Yeah, the thing about like this, because he cares so deeply about like dragons and what they represent and who they are, and lesser creatures fighting with dragons, that he's not the best dragon to go to with this argument.
No, I think this would be the kind of conversation where she will quickly realize that she is getting to one of the rare spots that gets Malignant actually generally angry, which are very few. Like, he can be talked to about anything in any tone, basically, as long as you're someone who's capable in anything that is useful to him. You can basically talk to him whatever. But that might be one of the topics where you will have to stop that line of thought, or it might get ugly.
Yeah, it's clear, if that is the mood she detects, she, of course, shuts up about it. But it's clear that is when someone is incredibly excited for something and then suddenly they're like, it's all knocked away. That's sort of the immense disappointment there in suddenly having the excitement disappear of. It's clear that reading and beginning to really investigate these rituals and learning how to do them has piqued an interest there that perhaps would appear in any mage that is of limited moral fiber.
This is what wizards do. It's just like science, everyone. Just keeps happening.
Yeah. Of course,
Which is-
the maybe fun or sort of a comical. That's not what's called the ironic thing. Is that originally these rebels came here looking for something that Yaffle might have left for them. To help combat whatever plan she was enacting. She went here to enact it, and they don't know what it is, but surely if they could just find some clues, right? They gave up on that eventually because there was nothing to find. Instead began working on this idea to bring Tiamat in here so that they could use Tiamat to combat Zastan. Because she has so many aspects that are trapped, and surely they want to be free, right? But perhaps it is ironic to relict this mind that now here they are, perhaps going down a road that has already been walked. As he will bring her on his back to Imisrae's lair. Walk that road.
The Grand Temple typically like its activity varies on any given day, but because it's not intended to be a settlement, it usually isn't that active. Just like a concentration of like minions and like visitors that might like travel here to get resupplied and then pay the dragon the appropriate fee. I think more activity has been seen only because of like the integration of the Verdant Eclipse and the Emerald Enclave, but that's dispersed for the day. With Nova Cree, who somehow keeps doing this, tasked with ensuring that no distractions arrive for the dragon and her visitors today. And Nova Cree, who has had like a decade to plot and has determined that it wasn't his fault and it wasn't the dragon's fault, but it was someone else's fault, keeps doing this. He's a leader again.
Yanka travels in disguise, magical disguise, as to be as little recognizable to it as possible.
Yeah.
Maybe even travels as an Eladrin, since Novacree and her spent some time in a cave, just
True.
Novacree being banished and her sort of reading a book. So they're familiar with each other, and probably agree on one thing now at least, and that is that dragons have power, a lot of it.
I think like Imisrae leaders here will meet them like sort of like with the looming like 120-meter like step pyramid of marble at her backdrop, and look. She has enough composure to like contain like her anticipation, but it's definitely there. She waits for Valignith and his vassal, servant, follower, cohort's arrival.
Does Valignith wish to stay, or does he?
He wants to see it happen, but he's not going to stay any time longer than is required for that.
Okay, it's
These
gonna
are
take a
really
couple
here,
days
like-
to sit up and prepare.
Looks at Valignith, then looks at his cohort and says, I am gladdened to meet you, but I am uncertain of what name you would wish to be referred to as. Who are you?
She will bow to Imisrae and say, I go by the name Yanka. You may use it as you wish.
Yinka. I will do to keep in mind that. Please follow me inside the temple. A suitable room has been made available, one that will be large enough to suit your needs. If there is anything else, as she like turns and like begins to move, like into like one of the immense like openings. If there's anything that is required for this purpose, I will see to fetching it myself.
I will need to do some verifications before I attempt the full ritual.
Absolutely. This is, she says, I am intending this after hearing of it from Valignith as a means to determine the veracity of the information you have gleaned. Should it be successful, she like looks back, I would not be opposed to finding another suitable entity for your own purposes.
No, of course. I have a question. It looks to
Right.
Your interest appears to be in transferring draconic essence from one dragon to another.
Yes.
Now, this would not aid you. It would not directly benefit you more than, I suppose, borrowing some of that dragon's dragonness. I suppose it is sort of like adding water to a glass of water to dilute it. There would be more water, but it would still be 100% water. You won't... It shouldn't... The effect would be... If he sort of looks at this, I'm not sure I understand what you hope to accomplish with this.
She says, will it help you perform the ritual by understanding?
I suppose she, good question, right? Because of course the answer would be no. And I think she will, should I get no? It won't. I'm curious though.
Yeah, she says, very well. Upon my birth, I found myself absent of certain qualities I wish to see whether I can instill in myself. The idea of this ritual has filled me with ideas and possibilities. Perhaps it may give me what it is that I have felt I have been lacking, or perhaps I have never been lacking it at all. If it will not benefit me, then it won't hinder me, and so it serves a good test to see whether you are actually capable of what you say you can do.
Will not. Let's say, were I to transfer it to a human, it would likely have a long-term temporary effect upon the dragon in question. Am I to bring it to you, however, to fully perform such a to have the same effect as it would on me, I would have to take all of the dragon. Particularly if it is the same size and strength as you or smaller. Whichever
She
one
says-
it is would likely not live.
She like stops walking and traveling to the room and like rotates to look back at like the at Yinka, almost as if to say, and? Because the dragon's alignment is dragon.
Oh, yeah.
Chromatic
She's
dragons,
merely
known for their
ensuring-
mercy. Yeah.
Because there's a big difference between working for Imisrae the Griffin and working for Malignant.
Absolutely.
It's quite clear that Yinka is one, used to speaking her mind, two, used to being respected, very much like an equal. Like she's competent and certainly takes initiative. Another one is used to respecting dragons and dragonhood to a quite high degree.
Okay. Then sort of like after that hesitation, as like if he's early Zero looks back at Yinka, says, "It is not a concern for this individual at this time. But it is good to know, should other dragons be acquired, certainly at least one for yourself."
Um,
And she resumes walking.
all right, yeah, we'll follow. I suppose Malignant falls as well, which means that
Yep.
Yinka can't act too giddy. But it is clear to both his. I mean, you have enough insight, right? And Theon is not it's not like bluff is something they really teach a lot. She is excited, but also feels a sense of trepidation. Because Malignant isn't happy with what's going to happen, and that means that there's a chance that she could be ripped apart. Probably small. Malignant generally doesn't ask her to do something he doesn't want her to do, but you know, the dragon is big and powerful and has a sense of dread about it, and certainly more than, I mean, really more ever than now, right? What do you look at when you see something that is divinely declared to be a personification of war and destruction? You know, it's not a calm feeling.
Tiamat, the gently soothing deity.
So we can probably just cut to the ritual chamber, right? She set it up.
Sure.
There's tubes, there's various runes, like it's a whole thing, right? Sandmaster was certainly not, he liked things to be grand. They are. Then again, he also liked things to be relatively easy to produce. Given this book, a lot of people can do a lot of very complex rituals, because really, the thing Sandmaster, when he made these books and his rituals, focused on was that, you know, life force is very expendable. And why refine something when you can simply acquire more life force? There's no reason to make a ritual too difficult to do if the only price of making it easier is more death. That seems fine. You know, it's basically free power. You know, he always called Sandmaster the Mad. Known for being as insane as Sirik himself.
It makes sense to me.
And certainly the world is still plagued by many of the things that he did. Or on death, for that matter. But Yanka sets up the ritual. Takes a couple days to get it ready, and yeah, the idea is basically to take not the soul of a dragon. The soul she can't really mess with.
Right.
But the magic that is inherent in the dragon's sort of physical bodily materials, its life, basically, and to take that out of it and link it to another dragon's life, which would, again, it's like adding water to a glass of water. You just have more water. It doesn't change the composition of the water, as it would with a human, where you would then have like 50% dragon, 50% human. Thus, there's no real benefit or difference. It's just that you have more of it, which long term might be unsustainable. It will likely reach an equilibrium equal to what you used to have, because really you're just going to sort of leak it. But yeah, presumably you wish to simply go ahead.
I think Imisrae Legion Theater like stays around, like not like looming over Yinka, or of course like the ritual work. Like she knows how that feels,
Mhm.
Elder Gold Dragon, but she's like nearby because she's deeply interested and invested, and unlike Valigna, she's green lighting this as much as her color.
She will have to be around.
Yep.
For,
Obviously the ritual like thing itself.
to even set it up or to do some of the tests and
Okay.
such.
Absolutely, she has no qualms with that.
Nivoriel has a very bad time. I think we leave it at that. But yeah, let's just jump ahead. Really, jump over most of the actual thing, and say that we end up with a very tired Thayan mage who has not slept for several days, and at this point is just exhausted. This ritual clearly was made to be done by like liches, with the length of it. Even the dragons are perhaps tired, except for Imisrae, who feels somewhat, you might think, the opposite of lethargic, sort of on speed, maybe.
Oh,
Unusually.
I
full of
never considered
energy
Imisrae Legion Theater on drugs.
and sort of enhanced, probably maybe even a little bit euphoric. You have twice the amount of life that you otherwise would. You're bound to feel something. It's a feeling of exhilaration. Beyond that, there is the gray remaining parts of the other dragon. Certainly somewhat disturbing sight. We need to go into further, I don't think. Velignith, of course, has been here. He has observed and seen that this magic is thoroughly. I think he might find it rather blasphemous. I think most creatures would, but it seems to work. At least Imisrae is going to be very just twice as energetic, I suppose. Maybe even to the point of being slightly, my words fail me, reckless, maybe? Is that the word I'm looking for? As someone might be if they were.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get you. I think an addiction to draconic essence is coming up for Imisrae Legion Theater.
Yeah, it could be. That would be an unfortunate addiction. Yeah.
I think the ritual's done. There's frantic like head bobbing from Imisrae Legion there.
Oh no, that's how you know something's wrong.
Like she looks between like Yinka and Velignith and says, I don't know what your official report is, ritual experts. She says, like, looking at Velignith, but I would say that this is an astounding success. There was something that was gone, and now it is present once more within me, yes. Not present once more. I never had it. Something I'd lost, but wasn't for sure I had lost until I have found it. And you, too. She looks at Yinka and Velignith, probably like frighteningly like beaming and like effusive, which is not her at all. Like, have both helped me find it. I am deeply grateful for your time.
Inca slumping over like the sort of probably like the stone altar. There's like this druidic room, right? Probably like there's glowing runes and stuff that have now been snuffed out all over the place. Similar to what you would imagine in a movie if like all the lights go out when you do a big thing, right? Is sort of just looking at Velignith and sort of giving like a tired like nod. Yes, it seemed to have worked. And look to Imisrae, which is pretty much just like I don't know what's going on with the dragon, but I can't really do anything about it right now. She probably just like passes out. Like she's done.
Imisrae probably like in her energy like starts to move like out of concern for Ginka, probably like get her like a proper like bed rest. Typically not concerned about these things at all.
Mhm.
But like moves like Valediv can see her like moving with like she moves fast to begin with. It's like a blur as she like gently scoops up the human. She says, "Gotta find her a proper bed. I have those around here. Would you like to talk, Valignith, or did you? She should rest before you travel back with her. Yes."
Vediev responds by just looking at Emmy very intently, clearly pondering as he is used to do.
Doesn't even notice. I don't think there's any attempt to disguise at all. She is like, it's a sort of like energy and like action and like a feeling of freedom that she's never had, and so it results in not just the, you know, how she used to be like corpulent and lay lazily next to Basarek while the Bone Devil scratched her chin and told stories, but it's just a liveliness and a vitality that she's never possessed. And she like scurries out of the room to like find like a proper suitable like bed, like looking around like the Temple of Malar, like I got something around here. Here we go. Or like goes out, like has like someone bring in something from one of the support structures and lays her down in like her own private area, closes that off. It's a almost manic movement. She typically only moves this fast when necessary. Looks back at Valignus. I'm doing it like in person and you can't see it, but her head's bobbing like the entire time. Like it's like it's wasted effort. It's like movement and energy that she's usually like so frugal with. And it's just like flowing out of her freely.
All these
Yeah,
years,
Emmy.
you wanted her to do something, and now she needed to suck out the energy from another dragon to do it.
Yeah, Emmy right now might not really register it, but Valignif does not look happy. Like he looks concerned, which is
doesn't even register. Like gets up like in his personal space, like is very friendly and amiable, like showing that effusive care that she does feel for him. Like when she dragged him back to her lair, the Worm Hill, and nursed him back to health. She says, "I know that we do these things for each other, and you look to further the cause of dragons anyway, because that's what you want the world to be ruled as, but I owe you something for this. We have been together, you and I, for this many decades, but this, what you have done, what you fostered, what you protected, the effort you have took here, cannot be squandered. I cannot refute or deny it in any way, shape, or fashion. How may I help you?" Eager glint in her eye. Like claw, like extending to like touch his body.
Point me at something.
Oh no, where's this going? I think Valignif would take a step back before saying, "Emmy, you know I don't trade favors. I do things I want to do, and I don't do things I don't want to do."
Of course, of course, of course. I want to help you. But I am uncertain of how best to go about it. You would know you best.
How about you get back to me once if you get back to being yourself?
What do you mean, get back to being myself?
Exactly. You don't.
I don't understand.
We'll talk later.
She says, "You're the simple one, I'm the complicated one. Explain it to me."
We'll talk later.
Yinka has to sleep it off. You would not travel and endanger her life so by venturing back to your home now, would you?
I didn't say I was going to leave. No. Well, travel very far anyways, but I do not want to talk to you right now.
I don't understand.
You will understand later.
I think she just looks genuinely like baffled, like has never considered this before. I think that remains as like fully deplete. She just doesn't get it.
I think Wellington will like turn around to leave before he stops. Swivels his head around as he says, "Congratulations, Emmy. You've just done the exact thing that I have eternal rage against Yaffle for. I'm not sure how to think about it yet. We'll talk later." And then he leaves.
Confusion does not subside. I think she thinks about it for a few minutes. It's he'll get over it. He always does. It's not a problem. Then just speeds around with the rest of her life, probably checking in frequently on Yinka.
Yeah, who is basically the opposite of what Imisrae is right now. Yeah, it's of course the high is gonna go off a little bit over time, more because Imisrae gets used to the feeling than because it actually leaves her. It might indeed disappear slowly over time, but it's not a fast process. Dragon's life has a lot of power. That's all just stored there now. Though, perhaps if Yaffle's ritual began soon, that might well bring the level of energy down to something more reasonable. It seems like it's going to stick around for a while. You can imagine how you think Imisrae would be when she sort of gets used to that feeling. Maybe less high, but maybe a bit cocky.
Yeah. So
we've just discovered a mix between heroin and Soylent Green.
I think Imisrae Later's attitude, basically during the night, and then the resulting day, is that she keeps checking in on Yinka in part to ensure Yinka's well-being, but also in the hope that Yinka will wake up before Velignith comes to return. Then she contemplates lying to Velignith if Velignith returns before Yinka is ready to go.
Yeah, she wants to talk to her.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have a chance, I think. And for I don't want to dictate your character's development or roleplay or anything, but so you can have Imisrae act however you want, right? But essentially, it's going to stick around, presumably until this ritual might drain some of it.
Yeah.
This feeling of, well, yeah, the opposite of lethargy, right? Which is hybrid to having the energy. I mean, yeah, maybe as you said, as if there was always something missing, but now it's suddenly there. Yeah, I mean, eventually Yinka will wake up and want to get something to eat.
Yeah. Tons of food, already having been delivered to the private room that's been set up by the dragon personally. All kinds of foodstuffs, baked and broiled and all sorts of things. Some of it cold, some of it warm, some of it hot. Drinks, got drinks in all manners of mugs and cups and tankards.
I think Mage is not used to that. Used to rather living in the mountains and eating dry food and such, and will probably eat sparsely. Sustenance to this person is something that is eaten because she is yet mortal and will yet need food.
Well, 7 minutes later, after she wakes, the dragon opens the door and prods her head in for the 54th time, wondering where Yinka's up, and says, "Ah, good morning."
Is it morning? Yes,
She says,
suppose. Good morning.
Ish. She looks up, imagining the sun's position in the sky. Yes. Am I disturbing you? I can leave again.
She sort of looks up at Imisrae. That is an unexpected question. She'll say, "No, of course not. My lady,
Yeah.
I am simply weary. It was quite a lot more. It was the most complex thing I have done ever."
She steps in, closes the door. Please, please, please. No need for formalities. Imisrae. She shuffles into the room, pushing aside plates of food, having never asked any non-dragon in her entire life to call her Imisrae. Or told any, what.
Yinka doesn't know.
It's usually a pain of death. Yeah, it's usually a pain of death thing.
Velignith says to call him Velignith, so that doesn't seem weird to her, really.
Yep.
She'll
shuffles
nod.
And says, yes, I had looked, as I expressed to you a few days back, to test your own capabilities and the knowledge Velignus said you had gained. Everything I have felt since the completion of your ritual does fit in, exceeds my expectations.
Her hand is continuously, and has been continuously, on the tome of the dragon that she carries. It is a... I think she is continuously guarding with her life at this point.
Yes.
You know, one, it is the instrument which allows her to affect the world in any meaningful way.
Yes.
With it, she could summon the avatar of Tiamat. With it, she could do so many things. Thus, it is, as there's any mention of her capabilities, that is where her mind goes. She has the book. The book.
The dragon says, "It is perhaps a brief regret that Velignith has secured your services in his own ways. For if you did not have a home, you would certainly have one here."
Velignith has proven himself capable, loyal to those who are loyal to him. And though I appreciate the compliment.
She waves a claw. Of course. I would not ask you to stop relating with him. It is agreeable. He brought you here.
Yeah, she's pretty dedicated at this point. There's not much that could wrest her away from maybe if you forsake Tiamat or something and had no other plan but to deliver her to the Thayans. Maybe that would do it, but
She says, "Your body being such as it is, and the time you have endured, I cannot begin to imagine how or what you must feel, though I am trying at this moment. It is good, though, this work that you have done. I would like to see it furthered, although..." She, looks towards, the door, and then back at Yinka. "Your patron, your patron does not seem to share my mindset."
no, it's just he feels degraded, I think, by the power being available to those who are not of your kind. I do think he will grant my wish as to my own future, but in regards to this, he was reluctant at best.
Missouri leaders here, crinkles up, her face, already thinking of, the 94 different ways she could potentially convince Velignith. Sure, there's the right argument there somewhere. Says, "He awaits outside for you to be sufficiently well to make a return trip. He and I have had many interactions during our young lives together. He does not seem to further one right now. When you are sufficiently well, you may depart with my blessing. Until then, feel free to remain. Anything you require will be provided."
Inca nods. So if Velignith is waiting, she doesn't want to outstay his hospitality. She just needs to be able to walk a day, another day or something. She'll nod. Simply say, "There's much grand work to do ahead of us." Yet if he supposes this power is tantalizing, what I could do with it if I was given time and resources to really explore the applications, there is so much potential in it. And yet, were I to send these formulas to my associates, I suppose my fellow Thayans, they might utilize such to combat the liches that have taken our country. It would be my death, though. And I have even less desire for that than for anything else. There are a few things I would die for. This would not be one of them. I'm going to follow his orders. If he wishes for me to expand on this research, I will eagerly do so. If he wishes for me to simply keep what I know and make no more use of it, I will find it a lost opportunity.
Hmm.
In the grand scheme of things, if nothing else, it gives me some delight to know that these rituals work, and that Tiamat will perhaps step through to this world in my lifetime.
I will see to it that I will work alongside Velignith and yourself to secure the time that you would like. I will also see whether I can persuade Velignith to grant you leniency to further your efforts. After all, he does so enjoy independence among those within his sphere of influence. And you surely do have the blessing of Tiamat in the work that you do, otherwise you could not perform what it is you performed. It may very well end up being a pang of jealousy on his part, and he wishes to be the one to have all of the adulation and credit, and could not perceive that Tiamat herself would like what you have done, and what you could do. After all, anything that furthers her own goals is worth pursuing. Or so she would say, even if Velignith disagrees.
Yeah, she once again runs a hand over the book, almost instinctively. It was written by the creator of the Cult of the Dragon. And yet, there is some contention. Velignith is not as the cult is normally. I've seen them. Too many degrees mad. Their actions of self-immolation, they have accomplished little but to die out. Velignith has accomplished much. He's secured many things, and I can only assume he will continue to do so. He is driven towards the same goal as I am. I will trust that he knows what he's doing, that his methods. Perhaps Tiamat sees what I do as good. I would hope so, since... Well, even if she didn't, I do believe that when I set her free upon the world, she will thank me for that, at least. She looks to Imisrae and says, "You are very different from Velignith."
Velignith and I are both united by one thing, that we are survivors. He and I have both endured much in our short lives together, and we have baffled, if not destroyed, those around us in our pursuits. I look to continue that with him in some form or capacity in the centuries to come.
Then perhaps I should quiet down. Perhaps at some point we will see each other in Westgate.
Yes. Westgate. Like Imisrae reacts as if that's a charming idea. Yes, of course.
Once it has been secured from the red wizards that are there, once the site of the ritual has been prepared.
Yeah, ritual. Yeah. What? What ritual?
The ritual to bring... You should have paused a moment, not knowing, that maybe Missouri isn't supposed to know.
Mm-hmm.
And she just continues slowly. I believe that below Westgate we can find a site of enough power, a site dedicated to Tiamat, where I might be able to open a path to her, way which she could follow to escape her imprisonment in Banehold. step from that place into this as an avatar.
Oh, yes, I would hope that location has not been tampered or soiled in any capacity by the active spellfire which rages beneath the city. There's a planar portal down there, and concerns of aberrations from the far realm moving into the city itself. It's part of why the Chosen of Umberlee exists there.
That would
The tunnel-
indeed be unfortunate.
The tunnels and underground are being flooded as, well, for some time, and I imagine for yet more time to come, until Umberlee is satisfied, and the dragon just sort of like gives like a throw claws up in the air gesture, or its equivalent. Like, I have no fathom idea where that could be, when that could be.
Fortunately, the site has been... It has weathered thousands of years. I'm sure it can weather a bit longer.
Good. I'm glad there wouldn't be any complications on that front. Then, well, I will leave you to your meditations, your contemplations, your study. I will let Velignif know that it will be another day before you're well enough to travel again. He may come see you himself. He is free to do so. Again, if there is anything you require in your stay, feel free to let me know.
I think she will pause for a moment, thinking how far she can push this, right?
Mhm.
And will say, thank you, Imisrae the Griffin. You have been a most gracious host. I was so fortunate a while back to have an encounter with your servant Novacree. I understand that he sings delightfully, and though I am tired, performance might be in order.
Amy's earlier is like rotating to like leave and like stops and like looks back and says, yes. I recall him making mention of his time in the mountains. I had sent him to learn the ways of Thayan language so that things could be edited instead of erased, but oh, very well, it doesn't matter. Of course, I will ensure that he is here.
She gives a smile, under which is hidden a little bit of a sadistic glee. Novacree gets on the nerves of everyone. And he couldn't kill her, you know. So,
yes.
Sort of, they worked well together, but she will take some pleasure in making him sing.
Yes. Yeah. Novacree will then be confronted by a green dragon he is never like. This is a new sort of like wrench in his plans of how to adapt and thrive. Of energetic and effusive that tells him to go to Yinka and sing as she has requested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There you go. And the rest of the time passes, I suppose, until she is ready to travel and Velignif leaves with her.
Does Velignif have any words for her, like, on the way back?
I don't think so. Velignif's not angry at her at all. Like, she did what he wanted her to do, and that's perfectly fine. Velignif isn't sure who he's angry at, to be honest. Like, everyone involved had his permission, but what happened here shouldn't happen too often.
They ought to be a little less happy about it.
And it's not so much about someone who isn't a dragon getting a taste of draconic power. That's fine. I mean, he himself offered that to Yenka. But the whole like cannibalizing other dragons' essence, that crosses a line that Velignif maybe didn't realize he had.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's the way you make a psychedelic death cult. You know, these rituals.
If that became the norm between dragons because the ritual gets widespread, then dragonkind is doomed.
Mm-hmm.
Because they just eat each other, like, more than usual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe that's a thing that Tiamat encourages, though, the strife between dragons.
All consuming.
Yep.
You know. Say what you will about the Cult of the Dragon, but they are radicals. in many ways. Yanka will mention that Imisrae was quite ecstatic with the ritual, but also that she understands his she's come to understand his hesitation. It is simply that perhaps their goals differ slightly, and that she never imagines the world after she has succeeded. Only the world that basically she only thinks about succeeding, not what comes after it. She says she will leave that to him, and of course she will follow his orders in this regard, really in any regard. She's chosen her a lot. And if nothing else, it proves that the rituals in this book are genuine, and that she's capable of casting them. All right. Yeah. There's still some faction things we might get to. This session. We're nearing its close here. But I figure that will be the beginning of next session. We will do this year's faction actions. Maybe the Emerald Enclave doesn't have that much, but the Marked and Dragonfane might, I don't want to mess up people in Westgate or Tissy or something.
Yeah,
as need be. So think about what you want to do with that, and then I think we will leave that for next time. Everyone's probably getting a bit tired. Hopefully, Sheep, you will feel better next time.
Yeah.
Make some more.
I sure hope that the side effects of my vaccination aren't going to last for another week.
Yeah.
That would be for me. It lasted 3 or 4 days, I think, at most. Yeah. But that was a really bad run. I had worse than anyone else.
I got to tell you, folks, I did not expect Epic Tier to begin with me Diablerizing another Dragon's Life essence.
Valkyrie, as they call it.
It was not on my 2021 bingo card for
it. Raise your generation. No, I mean, Book of the Dragons, serious stuff. It has information in it, and you can make use of that just as anyone else can. Yeah. It's a choice.
I love the slow discovery of the other powerful Thayan mage of like, oh wow, yeah, you could really, wow, I mean, this is incredible. I mean, think what you could do with this. Like, if you just kept them alive and slowly sucked out all it, like, yeah.
Let's build the Matrix, but dragons.
Yeah.
and it's like, well, it's just, God. Meanwhile, the awkward dragons are like, yeah, I mean, I have a vague idea what that would be like, yes.
But how would you keep the dragons from rebelling and killing you and then ending whatever ritual you've got going on? How would you do that?
Start feeding her and make her
that's
feed the problem out.
What if, hypothetically,
imagine you had an incredibly powerful power source of some kind? Certainly another thing that might begin being available to you is beginning to really understand the ritual that you're a part of yourself, right? I mean, I think it's become more clear since we started. Yeah, who knows? With knowledge comes power, right? Certainly there's one being that has messed with it to some degree.
Yeah. The continuing standoff between Valignith and the very powerful undead stone giant continues.
See, this would be very different if Valignith hadn't really called his bluff much earlier on. And been like, so you kind of need me alive for the ritual. And I guess I do, yeah. I think he might even mentioned it, like,
Yeah, he did.
As a sign of goodwill. Being like, we can work together, I don't want to kill you. But maybe you shouldn't have, because, what do you do? What do you do in his situation, right? You can't leave. So many creatures around here. You can't destroy the thing. You can't, at least directly. So you need, and it's like, damn it, right? He wants to have his cake and eat it too. And
Yeah, it must be rough.
Valignus threatening to throw the cake into the ocean.
yeah, you can either have the cake or eat the cake. You can't have both,
No perpetual cake.
which is just not fair. Just why is life so unfair? To
I
fixers,
emphasize.
You know,
That's
yeah.
not okay.
Ari
Need
did
a-
mention in the map tool chat that it was for the best that it was Valignith that the undead
Yeah.
stone giant was dealing with, as opposed to
Yeah, I mean, really seems reasonable. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
yeah, the giant just wants to be free. I know. I understand
Like,
completely.
yeah, go somewhere else. Yes.
Yep.
good
Here you
idea.
go.
I don't know
Bye.
that the Stickets would actually trust him. Like, he
I
might
doubt-
be too paranoid.
Yeah,
But there's definitely like, I mean, it is very appealing.
Maybe Zero Legion would have the same attitude of, oh, you don't have to be my problem? Sweet. Bye. Have fun.
You know, the issue is that he is asking for help while also nibbling at Valignus' metaphorical leg through the ritual.
Yep.
Yeah, I do feel like the audacity to threaten someone, and he's like, "Oh, like fuck you! that is my stuff. It's my cake you want to eat and have too. That's not
The
okay."
you are the cake. Yeah,
Yeah.
but inside the cake is the key to his manacles, so he cannot have the cake without smashing it and getting the key. But he loves the cake so much, and he wants to be free with the cake. So
He can be free, but much less powerful. Or he can be
Well,
trapped,
but
but powerful.
are you really free if you're not powerful, though? I mean,
see, you say he's not in a hurry, but who knows how long this ritual free power is gonna last, right? Now, he's powerful
Yeah.
without it, but
Yeah.
but with it,
He made mention, whether truthfully or not, that, the Undead Stone Giant knows some things about the ritual, that it does have a termination point. We might die. Hell might get us. Or Yaffle, the thing might come to completion. And then the cake's gone.
no, eventually you guys, basically the ritual reincarnates
Yeah.
Yaffle, right? And that gets harder and harder every time, which means it takes more and more of your power, which is why your downtime gets longer and longer.
Yes.
Really in sort of an exponential fashion. And at some point, it'll take so much that the dragons won't have enough. And then what happened to Nivora here will happen to you.
That's not what we were
You're
told.
husked, eventually.
We're told that we were going to have a grand interaction at the end.
Oh yeah, no, her hope is that before that
Yes.
happens, she has time to get to the ritual site and recover her memories and take over whoever person is in her body and meet
suppose
you
that's
there,
true,
shake hands and
is in her body.
give Hel the middle finger and then, ride into the sunset.
Yes.
That's true. I was looking at it from her interpretation, as opposed to the
Kill the
if she never
Discord,
finds the
you
ritual
know.
site.
If she never finds it, then Hel wins.
Yeah, which is why they're good with her not finding it. Of
Oh, yeah.
course.
Not if Yinka and I can help it. I will eat every dragon in this. I will make a planar portal to go to Sylvanas' domain.
There definitely was a moment in which I was like, well, if we could kill Severus, that swamp is full of dragons.
Just imagine that, right? You hunting
The
dragons
battery
so that you can
potential.
by
I mean,
proxy
talk about the Matrix, right?
give
Like,
their power to Yaffle to live
no,
longer.
me.
You know,
I am all for telling that story. That's such
We
a
could-
dragon story.
we could be more
Whether
years
or
if we just
not.
keep doing it, and she just gets more and more powerful every reincarnation, beyond what she even imagined.
Hell's scratching their collective heads.
It's
So
getting problematic. How do we? Some other gods are beginning to get pretty mad at us for this whole dragon cannibalization thing we've got going on.
This could be a problem. How do we get over this?
I think of all the power that you have to solve with recruit by that point.
Yeah, that's right. If hell could win if we could just figure out the way how to win. All right. Go get your rest, folks. Next week, we don't Diablerize any more dragons, and
Whoa! No.
we do more. we
I mean,
You might need to give Valigna some time to reflect before you suggest another one.
yeah, I feel like that's fair. I mean, the Cicatrix doesn't even know anything happened. To her, it's like, yes, that's a tantalizing idea. Let's ponder it.
You know what? She's probably gonna. I think this is going to, for the moment, like until like the actual like curse hits, she's gonna have all this energy. I think as soon as like Volignif leaves, like she's gonna pick up the Sending Stone and say, "Keep more Cicatrix there."
I want to talk. You're gonna have a party.
Yeah.
like, oh, who is this?
Let's talk this out. And I think at this time, right now, Imisrae allegiance to like over the Sending Stone will say that misunderstandings have happened between the two dragons, but they are working together for a common cause. I'm brushing over it because we're past session, and that we can work together cooperatively in the future. We have done so, like with the Cipher, and she hopes for positive relations moving forward. Differences aside, we are united together against a common threat. And she's glad to know we're Cicatrix.
The Secretary of Matter is like, what has she done? like,
Am I being buttered up? Is this like a trick?
it's like, why is she? Yeah, exactly. Why is she so nice? No, she has definitely done something.
But Malignant, why would she be this way?
She's like, yeah, it's exactly. It's like what? So she's, so she's fighting with Malignant. So now she wants to be friends with me again. I'm like, I don't want to be friends with her. I don't
It's
need
drama.
I've always been at war with Eurasia.
her. Yes.
I
I
think
know.
with that chat and recording, I think that's where we'll call it for tonight. So thank you for watching. I hope you had I hope you thought it was interesting. Same to my players, and we'll follow up next time with perhaps some action in Tessir and Westgate. I think there's an Avatar of War getting ready to show what it means to be one. I don't think they're ready. Looking at their preparation clock with their one tick. So, yeah. Follow us
Take
next
care,
time.
everyone.
Yeah.
See ya.